Chapter 2396. At the entrance to the lifeless prairie. Boom. A turbulent current violently shot out. Countless fragments of matter were thrown high into the sky, causing chaos between heaven and earth. Whoosh. A figure broke free from the shackles of the airflow before it contracted, quickly flying out of the turbulent region of chaos. It was only after leaving the chaotic region that the figure revealed himself. It turned out to be a burly man. It was Su Fong after using the fiendish shape-shifting art. After leaving the undercurrent outside the lifeless prairie, Su Fong searched the lifeless prairie for about half a year. He couldn't find the whereabouts of Luo, Qingyu, and Bai Ling, nor could he find Huang Lingyao. They seemed to have left the lifeless prairie. Therefore, Su Fong directly left the lifeless prairie and prepared to return to the Sky Beacon God realm. The big goblin Yuan Li had become a juicy piece of meat in the eyes of various forces. Resurrected experts, demons, and human cultivators were all hunting him down. Before Su Fong returned to the Sky Beacon God realm, he naturally couldn't use this identity anymore. Instead, he used the fiendish shape-shifting art to transform into a bear monster. Su Fong first released the big goblin gazing at the sky? Constriction? Alliance? Blade crab praying for Enin Shackle? Shackle sash? Sash? Pregnant Enin Shackle? Shackle sash fan? About a year later, Su Fong had once suppressed a resurrected sovereign in a narrow region. This was also the only way back to the Sky Beacon God realm. Buzz. A wave of sensing power swept past Su Fong's body. When Su Fong unleashed his great perfection ability, he immediately sensed more than 10 gods nearby. One of them was a powerhouse whose cultivation base was at the level of a lower-rank lord. He was activating a magic treasure that resembled an oval jade disc. The jade disc released a cold white xian guang. Like moonlight, it instantly descended and landed on Su Fong's body. The jade disc magic treasure was an extremely extraordinary magic treasure, and it contained a formidable and strange energy that possessed the ability to see through the concealment of one's appearance and aura. Under the divine power of the jade annulus, Su Fong felt that his entire body, from the inside to the outside, was illuminated by the white xian guang. No secret could be concealed. The demonic shape-shifting technique was indeed extraordinary. That magical weapon's godly might was also powerful enough to make Su Fong reveal the slightest abnormality. Moreover, Su Fong had long since concealed everything that could possibly expose his identity in the depths of his body. Moreover, he even used the life-shrinking technique to deceive it. No matter how extraordinary the jade disc was, it was difficult to see any clues. The dozen or so cultivators didn't notice anything unusual, so they stopped paying attention to Su Fong. Why are these cultivators standing guard here? Su Fong was puzzled. Who would have thought that right after? Buzz buzz buzz. Another burst of extremely intangible sensing force prompted the Tao runes of the heavenly secret life shrinking technique to flash rapidly. The sensing force was extremely intangible. If it weren't for the life shrinking technique, Su Fong reckoned that even peak overgods wouldn't be able to sense it. It lingered on Su Fong for a moment before disappearing without a trace. So it's the evil dominator of Tiandu, he's actually standing guard here. From the figure formed by the Tao runes of fate, Su Fong determined that the one who sensed him was the evil dominator of Tiandu. Clearly, the evil dominator of Tiandu couldn't find me in the undercurrents around the lifeless prairie, so he's standing guard here on the only way back to the Sky Beacon God realm. Those cultivators are most likely under the evil dominator of Tiandu's control. They're standing guard here and using their magic treasures to check every big goblin that passes through here. The resurrected experts are getting more and more arrogant. Evil dominator of Tiandu, you never dreamed that the big goblin Yuan Li you're looking for would pass right under your nose. Su Fong sneered in his heart and pretended that nothing had happened. Only when the sky barrier that separated the two worlds was in sight did Su Fang use the fiendish transformation technique to transform back into the human form of the big goblin Yuan Li and rush towards the sky barrier. Su Fang took out his medallion and released a strand of divine might. The barrier started to ripple like water, giving off a divine might that Su Fang found hard to resist as it swept him in. It was easy to leave the Sky Beacon God realm and enter the two-world battlefield through the sky barrier, but it wasn't so easy to return from the two-world battlefield. The sky barrier's divine aura would automatically send the cultivator or big goblin with the waste token to a special place for identification. Su Fang was enveloped by a twisting divine aura and lost control of his body. Even his primordial spirit and divine essence were shackled and couldn't circulate. He could only go with the flow of the formation in front of him. After an unknown amount of time and space, Su Fang suddenly felt that he had weight and the shackles of the twisting formation disappeared. It was as if he had returned to reality from an illusion. Before Su Fang could return to normal, a different cold divine aura suddenly descended and shackled him as if he was sealed in ice. A thick layer of ice quickly condensed around him. The ice layer contained the power to seal and freeze the demonic aura of the big goblin, making Su Fang unable to move at all. "What's the matter?" Su Fang was shocked and stunned. He didn't expect such an accident to happen. 3 black-robed people appeared in Su Fang's sight. At this time, he couldn't even move his eyes. He could only see the 3 blurry black figures through the ice layer. "This demon is Yuan Li?" QL11, a black-robed elder said coldly. A middle-aged man said respectfully, "It is the big goblin Yuan Li, there is no mistake." The black-robed elder looked at Su Fang carefully and nodded. "It is indeed Yuan Li. This demon is indeed extraordinary, to be able to escape the pursuit and return to the Sky Beacon divine world." Another black-robed man snorted. "No matter how extraordinary it is, it can't escape the fate of being suppressed." The black-robed elder said proudly, "Even Master couldn't catch it. In the end, it fell into our hands. This time, we have done a great service. Master will definitely reward us handsomely." From the three's conversation, Su Fang finally understood that he had fallen into the hands of the cultivators controlled by evil dominator Tian Du. The master they were talking about was none other than evil dominator Tian Du. Only then did Su Fang realize that he was too careless. Evil dominator Tian Du had controlled so many cultivators before, and he probably controlled many more after that. Moreover, the cultivator called Zhong Yinji was an upper sovereign god who had killed Lang Xiao and obtained a lot of merit points. After returning to the Sky Beacon divine world, he would definitely be put in an important position and become a big shot with great power. Evil dominator Tian Du had personally come to retrieve the evil god flag, so how could he not have made arrangements in the Sky Beacon divine world? Zhong Yinji must have made arrangements in advance. As soon as Su Fang returned to the Sky Curtain, he would be transported directly to this shackled space. Su Fang tried to use the power of the yin-yang world and the power of his primordial spirit, but the layer of ice shackling him gave off an extremely cold aura. Not only did it freeze his demonic energy, the power of the yin-yang world, even his primordial spirit was frozen. Such a shocking ice divine aura had far surpassed that of a sovereign god and reached the origin of the heavenly Tao. It was definitely the work of a sovereign god. Seeing the struggle in Su Fang's eyes, the black-robed old man sneered disdainfully. "This formation space that shackles you is called the vast frost prison. All your struggles are futile. You should just wait for your death." Vast frost prison? Su Fang's heart sank. Ever since the Sky Curtain had separated the two worlds, countless experts from the demon race, resurrected experts, and other dark forces had tried various ways to sneak into the Sky Beacon divine world. In the end, none of them could escape the Sky Curtain's screening and were all sent to the vast frost prison. Vast Frost Prison was a prison personally created by a supreme powerhouse of primordious heavenly palace called the Vast Frost Emperor. It was said that no expert had ever been able to escape the Vast Frost Prison. Even the supreme evil dominator and the demon saint would not be able to break out of the shackles in a short time, let alone a big goblin with the strength of a lower sovereign god like you. All your efforts will be in vain when a sovereign god comes to suppress you. The middle-aged man said proudly, his eyes full of mockery as he looked at Su Fong. The black-robed old man said coldly, just kill him. Long delays may lead to trouble, and others might notice something. The middle-aged man formed a seal with his hands, and the cold air released by the ice layer suddenly grew stronger. It quickly seeped into Su Fong's body and divine apertures, turning him into a giant ice block. His body could no longer be seen. This monster is dead. We should report back to the Lord, the middle-aged man said. You stay here first. After another 6 hours, the vast chill profound ice will automatically melt into ice water, and Yuan Li's corpse will also be reduced to nothingness. After that, it won't be too late for you to leave after obtaining Master's evil god flag. The black-robed old man was very cautious. Seeing that Su Fong was dead for sure, he still wanted to wait until he completely disappeared before he could relax. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't break the vast frost profound ice, he would have ground Su Fong's bones into dust with his own hands. Understood, the other black-robed old man said, and then sat down in the formation. In less than 2 hours, the black-robed old man was surprised to find that the thick vast frost profound ice was quickly melting. Su Fong's body was revealed from within, and it didn't turn into ice water as the vast frost profound ice melted. The black-robed old man revealed an incredulous expression. Is the body of this big goblin Yuan Li so strong that even the divine aura of a venerable emperor can't destroy it? Bang! Su Fong suddenly opened his eyes. His originally lifeless body suddenly erupted with an astonishing divine aura of flames. It wasn't an ordinary divine aura of flames, but the supreme divine aura of the 9 suns' true fire from the origin sacred mirror. Wherever the divine aura swept, the surrounding ice water turned into white smoke and quickly evaporated. This time, Su Fong was caught off guard, and once again came into close contact with death. Being able to luckily escape the suppression of the vast frost profound ice, apart from the pure yang body, it was also because of the origin sacred mirror. When the cold chi of the vast frost profound ice continuously seeped into Su Fong's body, it was precisely because of Su Fong's pure yang body that he didn't freeze to death. When the cold chi invaded the Tao Palace of Heaven and Earth, even Su Fong's world tree and yang meridian were about to be frozen. Just as the cold chi came into contact with the origin sacred mirror, the mirror's power was activated, and the 9 suns' true fire surged out, dispersing the cold chi. Then, the 9 suns' true fire quickly fused with his body. Not only did it melt the cold chi of the vast frost profound ice, but it also quickly unsealed Su Fong's sealed divine aperture. Fortunately, after Su Fong reached the 8th transformation, he had further fused with the origin sacred mirror. Otherwise, the origin sacred mirror wouldn't have automatically protected its master, and Su Fong would have been incinerated by the domineering power of the 9 suns' true fire. Chapter 2397. Swoosh. QL11 The Guang Frost Prison's array formation was activated. The cold air surged again. Just as it was about to suppress Su Fong again, a black Xian Guang shot out from Su Fong's eyes. The primordial spirit's divine power swept over like a tidal wave. The black-robed man hurriedly activated his divine aperture's defense. He did not have the energy to activate the array formation. The second primordial spirit had been cultivating the immortal soul code and had devoured countless primordial spirit. In addition to the increase in the cultivation of the original body, the power of the second primordial spirit was comparable to that of a peak Lord God. The black-robed man's cultivation was only at the 9th heaven of the Tao integration stage. Under the suppression of the second primordial spirit's divine power, his divine aperture's defense was forcefully and domineeringly broken. The second primordial spirit directly entered his divine aperture. The black-robed man could not resist at all. In less than 5 minutes, he stopped struggling. The second primordial spirit said coldly, "The original body has already possessed this person's primordial spirit. A Tao integration stage cultivator cannot withstand a single blow." The second primordial spirit was so domineering now. A Tao integration stage cultivator could only be crushed by it. "Take me out of the Guang frost prison first." Su Fang thought for a while and asked the second primordial spirit to take him out of the Guang frost prison first. The black-robed man, who had been possessed by the second primordial spirit, sucked Su Fang into his internal space. Then, he took out a waste token made of ice jade. After activating it, it released a divine power that protected the black-robed man as he passed through the array formation. An instant later, a divine power twisted the void and swept the black-robed man out. He appeared inside a cold and solemn palace. This should be the main palace of the Guang Frost Prison. There were many black-robed deities with solemn expressions. At the same time, the moment the black-robed man appeared, several auras of the void swept past him. However, no one asked anything. The black-robed man quickly left the palace and flew into the sky. With the help of the protective divine power of the waste token, he flew out of a powerful barrier and into the void. Only then did the black-robed man pull Su Fang out of his internal space. After that, the black-robed man lost his usefulness and was sucked into the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda by Su Fang and given to the big goblin to devour. Naturally, his second primordial spirit also returned to Su Fang's divine aperture. Su Fang shuddered when he recalled how he had almost been suppressed. He hadn't expected the cultivators who had been resurrected to be so powerful. They could even control the cultivators and big goblin who had entered the sky curtain. Who knew how many of these cultivators and big goblins had infiltrated the Sky Beacon God Realm? The big goblin's status in the Sky Beacon God Realm is very low. Even if I tell the upper echelons of the Sky Beacon God Realm about this, no one will believe me. Moreover, the upper echelons of the Sky Beacon God Realm have already been infiltrated. I can only inform the peerless existence of the Imperial people first. He will decide how to deal with this matter. Su Fang pondered for a moment before deciding to inform the peerless existence of the Imperial people first. He would remain in the Sky Beacon God Realm as the big goblin Yuan Li and complete his training in the River of Two Realms. He quickly left the depths of the Sky Beacon God Realm, where the vast frost prison was located. After arriving at a deserted place, Su Fang took out the Holy Sun token and sent out a message. The Sky Beacon God Realm was separated from the Yuan Tiangong by many plains. However, with the peerless existence of the Imperial people and the Holy Sun token, he should be able to communicate with him. Moreover, Su Fang estimated that the peerless existence of the Imperial people would at least leave an avatar in a place as important as the Sky Beacon God Realm. Just as Su Fang expected, the Holy Sun token vibrated about half an incense stick's worth of time later. As soon as he took it out, the peerless existence of the Imperial people's majestic voice came from within. Su Fang, has your training in the River of Two Realms ended? Or have you encountered a danger that you can't handle and need my help? I do need your help. However, it's not me. It's the Sky Beacon God Realm. Is that so? Let's hear it. I'll see if you're exaggerating. Su Fang first told the peerless existence of the Imperial people about the heavenly fire divine lord being controlled by the resurrected expert and how he was refining a treasure for the resurrected expert. I already know that the resurrected expert can use a treasure. However, I didn't expect the heavenly fire divine lord to be the one refining the treasure for the resurrected expert. Now, the resurrected expert is like a tiger that has grown wings. It's a little troublesome. The Emperor clan unmatched existence replied in an understated manner, appearing a bit unconcerned. Su Fang then told the peerless existence of the evil dominator of Tian-Du controlling the human cultivators and infiltrating the Sky Beacon God realm. The peerless existence of the imperial people was surprised and shocked. There's such a thing? They can even control the upper echelons of the Sky Beacon God realm. If that's the case, the Sky Beacon God realm is in danger. We have to eliminate them as soon as possible. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable. Su Fang, I didn't expect you to discover such a shocking conspiracy as the resurrected expert during your training in the Two World Rivers. I'll remember such a great contribution. However, Su Fang didn't seem happy at all. Instead, he continued, "Please let me finish. There's even worse news." There's worse news? The peerless existence of the imperial people also realized that the situation was very serious. His tone became much more serious. After Su Fang told him about the resurrected expert, the collusion of the demon race and other evil forces, as well as the speculations about the evil god, the peerless existence of the imperial people fell into a long silence. Obviously, he was deeply shocked by the news brought by Su Fang. After a long time, the peerless existence of the imperial people said faintly, "I'll find a way to deal with what you said. You don't have to worry about it anymore. The Sky Beacon God realm will become incomparably dangerous. You should quickly return to the Yuan Tiangong or the other god realms to train." "It's okay. I have my own ways to protect myself. Moreover, I've just comprehended something in the battlefield of the Two World Rivers and found an opportunity to break through to the Over-God realm. If I leave now, all my efforts will be in vain." "Alright, it's up to you. There's one more thing. Diyuan has already died. You should put down the grudges between you and him and focus on your cultivation. No matter what happens in the Sky Beacon God realm, the trip to the exalted celestial mountain is the most important thing. Otherwise, everything will be meaningless." Su Fang's heart skipped a beat. Of course, he understood the peerless existence of the imperial people. It was obvious that the peerless existence of the imperial people already knew that Diyuan had died in Su Fang's hand. At least, he had some suspicions. However, Su Fang was irreplaceable right now. He could only pinch his nose and accept Diyuan's death. Su Fang replied nonchalantly, "Su Fang understands." Su Fang put away the Holy Sun token and sealed it in his body again. Then, he flew straight to the central region of the Sky Beacon God realm. The central region of the Sky Beacon God realm wasn't the place where the power of the Sky Beacon God realm gathered. Instead, there was a giant stone tablet that was tens of thousands of meters tall floating in the air. From afar, it looked like a majestic mountain. Mysterious and illusory purple energy lingered around the stone tablet. It exuded a kind of supreme heavenly fortune. The front of the stone tablet was engraved with 3 large golden words, "Merit Tablet." They emitted a golden radiance that was tens of thousands of meters long. They contained a profound heavenly intent. Just these 3 words made one feel as if they were directly facing the heavenly Tao. It was said that this merit tablet was personally created by the guardian of the exalted celestial mountain. The 3 large golden words were also written by him. The back of the merit tablet was densely covered with names. There were gods, cultivators, and big goblin. It was the merit ranking used to rank people based on merit points. Those who killed resurrected experts or those who made great contributions to the Sky Beacon God realm would accumulate merit points and exchange them for rich reward. At the same time, the merit ranking would be displayed on the merit tablet according to their merit points. The merit ranking wasn't just related to the rewards. It was also related to one's status. Those who were ranked in the top 1,000, regardless of whether they were big goblin or gods, were qualified to enter the Sky Beacon God Realm's meeting hall and become a higher-up of the Sky Beacon God Realm. They could enjoy status and treatment that other people or big goblins could not enjoy. Those who were ranked in the top 100 of the merit ranking would have a different status. They could become elders of the Sky Beacon God realm. Those ranked in the top 10 were even more impressive. They were all great elders, the decision-makers of the Sky Beacon God realm. I've killed so many resurrected experts. Among them, there were even powerful experts who were ranked among the top 10 experts of the lifeless prairie. Once my tablet is confirmed by the merit seal, I'll be able to enter the top 1,000 on the merit rankings at the very least. I might even be able to make it into the top 100. If I become an elder, those cultivators under the control of evil dominator Tiandu, no matter how powerful they are, won't dare to openly attack me. It turned out that Su Fang had come to the merit seal to verify the merit points in his waste token. The matter of the Sky Beacon God realm being infiltrated by the resurrected experts would naturally be dealt with by the peerless existences of the imperial people. In order not to alert the enemy, they would definitely not touch them for the time being. If Su Fang wanted to continue staying in the Sky Beacon God realm as the big goblin Yuan Li, he could only rely on his own strength. It was useless for Su Fang to inform the upper echelons of the Sky Beacon God realm about him entering the Sky Curtain and being suppressed in the vast frost prison. Of course, the puppets under the control of evil dominator Tiandu wouldn't dare to use this as an excuse to suppress him again. They would find another way to eliminate him. As long as Su Fang entered the top 100 on the merit rankings and became an elder, no one would be able to do anything to him in the short term. The closer he was to the merit seal, the more shocking the shackles were. Even with Su Fang's strength, he could only fly and not teleport. Su Fang slowly arrived at the merit seal and circled behind it to look at it. Among the top 10 on the merit list, Su Fang discovered that the 9th name was Zhong Yinji. That Zhong Yinji actually became one of the top 10 experts of the Sky Beacon God realm. If I didn't accidentally see the evil dominator Tiandu controlling the cultivators, the Sky Beacon God realm would have been destroyed by the resurrected experts sooner or later. Su Fang felt a lingering fear. Zhong Yinji killed the resurrected wolf demon Lang Xiao to get into the top 10. I didn't accumulate as many merit points as he did before, but I killed the heavenly corpse child, the demon experts Shui Yen and Dongsha Moshing's son, and countless resurrected experts. The merit points I obtained will definitely be enough to get into the top 10. If I can become one of the top 10 experts of the Sky Beacon God realm, those puppets under the evil dominator Tiandu's control won't be able to touch me. Su Fang's eyes flashed with a bright light. He grabbed his waist token with his right hand. Yuan Li? It's actually the big goblin Yuan Li who made a name for himself in the lifeless wilderness. I wonder what rank he will be able to achieve with his merit points. Chapter 2398. In the lifeless prairie. Su Fang had killed countless resurrected experts, including peerless experts like Shui Yen and Heavenly Corpse Boy. He had also rescued the Yuan Tiangong genius Qiangang, one of the 10 great experts, Ku Qin Tian, and hundreds of thousands of cultivators and big goblin. The Dongsha Moshing had placed a bounty on his head, and he had managed to escape unscathed despite being hunted by the resurrected experts, the Devil race and the Azura race. At the same time, the big goblin Yuan Li had become one of the 10 great experts of the lifeless prairie. Any one of his achievements was enough to make him famous in the Sky Beacon God world, not to mention that Su Fang had so many glorious achievements. In the Sky Beacon God world, the big goblin Yuan Li's name was like the sun in the sky. Now that Su Fang had appeared, he immediately attracted everyone's attention. 1 spread to 10, 10 spread to 100, and countless gods and big goblin rushed to the merit monument. In less than an incense stick's worth of time, more than 100,000 cultivators and big goblin had gathered in front of the merit monument, and even more people were rushing over. The cultivators who had always looked down on the big goblin and treated the big goblin as prey and cultivation tool, as well as the powerful big goblin, all looked at Su Fong with reverence and anticipation. Everyone was waiting for the birth of a miracle. Su Fong wanted to use the merit monument to make a name for himself. Once he was famous, the puppet cultivators controlled by the evil dominator of Tian-Du would not dare to touch him. Therefore, he was not in a hurry to activate the token. Instead, he waited until the merit monument was surrounded by gods and big goblin. There were about 100,000 of them. Then, he faced the merit monument and prepared to activate the token. At this time, more than a dozen cultivators in black robes with cold auras split the crowd and headed straight for Su Fong. The enforcers of the punishment hall? What are they doing here? Yuan Li's merit points must be amazing. He'll definitely become one of the 10 giants of the Sky Beacon God realm. The people from the punishment hall must have come to verify Yuan Li's merit points so that no one will be dissatisfied. In the eyes of the gods and big goblin of the Sky Beacon divine world, the law enforcers of the punishment hall were cold and merciless. The onlooking gods and big goblin retreated, as if they had seen the god of plague. Then, they began to whisper to each other about the purpose of the disciplinary hall's visit. Yuan Li, do you know your crime? The black-robed old man in the lead shouted at Su Fong coldly and angrily. His voice was like a gust of cold wind, causing everyone present to feel a chill run down their spines. The grand scene of more than 100,000 people instantly became absolutely silent. Su Fong recognized this black-robed old man. It was the same old man who had almost sealed him in the vast frost prison. He couldn't help but sneer in his heart. The black-robed old man was probably still in shock. He couldn't understand how Yuan Li, who had clearly died, could come back to life and escape the vast frost prison unscathed. Su Fong sneered arrogantly, "What crime have I committed? In the lifeless prairie, you disobeyed the conscription and caused the death of one of the 10 experts of the human race, Qiu Fong. This is the crime you have committed." The black-robed old man naturally didn't dare to reveal that Su Fong had escaped the vast frost prison in front of everyone. Therefore, he directly accused Su Fong of something he didn't commit. Demonic energy surged out of Su Fong's body and turned into a raging demonic fire. Qiu Fong wanted to take away my merit and use my head to exchange for the bounty of the Dongsha Mashing. Is this the crime you speak of? Buzz. The many gods and big goblin in the surroundings started to discuss among themselves. Most of them looked indignant. This was especially so for the big goblin. They were cruel and unruly by nature. They had come to the Sky Beacon divine world for the rich rewards and entered the battlefield of the Two-Realm River to kill the resurrected experts. However, they were discriminated against everywhere in the Sky Beacon divine world. In the battlefield of the Two-Realm River, they were often treated as cannon fodder by the human cultivators. Seeing that the punishment hall wanted to punish Su Fong for such a ridiculous reason, the big goblin looked dissatisfied. The black-robed old man saw that the situation was about to get out of hand and put on a pleasant expression. "Follow me to the punishment hall first. You will naturally be dealt with fairly. Let's go." Wouldn't the enforcers have the final say in the punishment hall? Even a fool would know that these enforcers wouldn't give up until they captured Su Fong. It won't be too late to go to the punishment hall after I have verified the merit points in my waste token with the merit steel. Su Fong rejected coldly. As long as the merit points were verified, Su Fong would be at least an elder by then. The punishment hall wouldn't dare to use such a ridiculous reason to punish him. "Yuan Li, how dare you defy the punishment hall's decree?" The black-robed old man's face darkened. He shouted coldly, "Quickly capture Yuan Li." Boom! The dozen or so enforcers behind the old man used their divine powers. Some of them activated their divine weapons and charged towards Su Fong. Judging from their actions, they didn't want to capture Su Fong at all. They wanted to kill Su Fong. "You've gone too far. Su Fang's heart surged with a fierce aura. The next moment, a violent demonic aura, which contained an astonishing destructive aura, erupted from his body and shattered the divine powers and divine weapons that swept toward him. The shockwaves swept out and sent the black-robed old man and the dozen or so enforcers of the punishment hall flying. A few of the enforcers, who were only at the early stage of the Tao integration stage, vomited blood. Big Goblin Yuanli, who has betrayed the Sky Beacon Divine World, will be executed on the spot. A majestic voice came from the void. Then, an old man stepped out of the void. It was Zhong Yinji. Greetings, Grand Elder. The black-robed old man and the enforcers cupped their fists and bowed to Zhong Yinji. The surrounding divine beings and Big Goblin trembled as they looked at Zhong Yinji in awe. Zhong Yinji's current identity wasn't just one of the 10 overlords of the Sky Beacon Divine World. He was also the Grand Elder of the Punishment Hall. Although the Sky Beacon Divine World had just been established, it was the first line of defense against the resurrected expert. Therefore, it was very important. The Hall Master of the Punishment Hall was a venerable emperor, and this Hall Master was the Moon Venerable Emperor. However, the Moon Venerable Emperor wouldn't easily appear, and he wouldn't personally deal with the matters of the Punishment Hall. Therefore, Zhong Yinji, the Grand Elder of the Punishment Hall, could do whatever he wanted in the Punishment Hall. This is going to be troublesome. Even Zhong Yinji had personally appeared. Su Fang's eyes flashed with hostility. It looked like these puppet cultivators controlled by the evil celestial lord of Tiandu wouldn't stop until they killed him. The terrifying divine might of an upper-rank chief god enveloped Su Fang in an instant and was about to shackle Su Fang. You're just an upper-rank chief god. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? At worst, I'll end this Two Realms river trial and kill that Zhong Yinji. The murderous intent in Su Fang's heart intensified. Suddenly an angry roar sounded. Then, a crimson ray of light pierced through the void and tore apart Zhong Yinji's divine might shackling. Then, he looked to the sky. Wu Qigui? Xing Huang Lian? Salty Huai? Ing Huai? Ai? Right? Ing Huai? Zhong Yinji shouted, Heavens, how dare you attack me? Are the demons rebelling in the Sky Beacon Divine World? Heavens? Ian? Dan? Ci dog barging into a rut? Wei Jun of cowardice among the Big Goblin who came to the Sky Beacon Divine World. There was no peerless Big Goblin like the great saint of the demon race. Heavens? Wu Qigui? Ferocious hairpin? Wu Qigui? The humans discriminated against Big Goblin. Which Big Goblin didn't resent them? Heavens? Chi Bagring? AI? Is me Chi trying to be funny? Chasing after Chi? Chi? Wu Qigui? Ji? Su Fang smiled bitterly in his mind. This was great. Things were getting out of hand, and Zhong Yinji was worried about finding an excuse. As expected, Zhong Yinji sneered. How much can the demons do in the Sky Beacon Divine World? I'll invite the Moon God Emperor to descend now. All of you Big Goblins can wait in the Moon God prison. A divine light flashed, and a woman in black appeared below the Merit Monument. She said to Zhong Yinji, Why bother the Supreme Emperor for such a small matter? Ku Qingtian, you should be Goddess Luo. Su Fang was surprised to see this woman. Zhong Yinji raised his white eyebrows, and his eyes were filled with fear. Goddess Luo said, Big Goblin Yuanli saved my life. Can the punishment hall let him go this time? Zhong Yinji hesitated for a moment, then said firmly, I'll enforce the law impartially. No one can stop me. Goddess Luo frowned, and her tone turned cold. What a good enforce the law impartially. Great Elder Zhong, do you really want me to disturb Emperor Shao before you let this matter go? The Emperor Shao that holy maiden Luo spoke of was Shao Wanting, who had once been in charge of punishment in Primordius Heavenly Palace. There were a total of 3 Emperor-level powerhouses that stood guard in Sky Beacon God World, and the one with the greatest authority was Shao Wanting. Zhong Yinji and the other enforcers of the punishment hall hesitated. They were obviously afraid of Xiao Wanting, but it was impossible for them to let Su Fang go. At this time, Su Fang suddenly sneered, "I just want to collect the merit points in my waste token." What is the meaning of Great Elder Zhong's repeated obstruction? Fine, I'll give you a chance. Let's see how many merit points you have. If you have enough merit points, I'll make you an elder. The punishment hall won't be able to do anything to you, and you'll be dealt with by the conference hall. If you don't have enough merit points, then follow me to the punishment hall to receive your punishment, Zhong Yinji said decisively. QL11 in fact, he was sneering in his heart. Even if you're number 1 on the merit list, I have a way to turn you into nothingness since I'm in charge of the punishment hall. Then, he looked coldly at Su Fang and secretly transmitted his thoughts. Great Elder Zhong, I'm afraid you're going to humiliate yourself this time. Su Fang smiled domineeringly and immediately activated the waste token in his hand. Buzz, buzz, buzz. After the waste token vibrated, illusory shadows swept out from the waste token along with an evil aura of death. Those illusory shadows could only be seen by the power of the primordial spirit. They were the remnant souls that were automatically absorbed by the waste token after the resurrection of the experts. There were too many illusory shadows that poured out from Su Fang's waste token. They gathered together like a vast ocean, and there were no less than 2 million of them. Chapter 2399. When Zhong Yinji and the other puppets controlled by Evil Dominator saw the deathly aura gushing out from Su Fang's waste token, a cold light flashed in their eyes. Their thinking had been completely changed by the evil celestial dominator, and they treated themselves as resurrected experts instead of cultivators. It would be strange if Zhong Yinji and the others were happy when they saw Su Fang killing so many resurrected experts. They wanted nothing more than to kill Su Fang on the spot. Soon, Su Fang's name appeared on the merit monument, and his ranking quickly rose to within the top 1,000. When he was close to the top 100, the deathly aura from Su Fang's token became much fainter. Zhong Yinji snorted inwardly. Even if you can barely enter the top 100, this seat has a way to beat you down from the clouds, not to mention you're not even in the top 100. Who knew that in the next moment, Su Fang's token surged with a deathly aura again, and it was clearly much more evil and powerful than before. After the merit monument absorbed this deathly aura, Su Fang's name lit up with a dazzling golden light, and after a surge, it appeared to be around 50. This also meant that Su Fang had firmly become one of the Sky Beacon God Realm's elders and big shot. This scene caused an uproar in the surroundings, and the eyes that looked at Su Fang were filled with awe and envy. The merit points that Su Fang obtained this time could be used to exchange for all kinds of treasures. This was secondary. There were only 90 elders in the Sky Beacon God world, and the number of big goblin could be counted with one's fingers. Now that Su Fang had become one of them, how could they not be envious? Not only was he powerful, but he would also be listed in the conference hall and become a big shot. As long as he kept his position as an elder, he would enjoy incomparably rich resources every year, making any over-god powerhouse jealous. Zhong Yinji's face was frighteningly gloomy. He smiled coldly. Just as he was about to say something, Su Fang's waste token moved again. Streaks of black demonic light surged out from the waste token and were quickly absorbed by the merit steel. Then, Su Fang's ranking on the merit steel crazily rose. Why is there demonic chi? Aren't there no merit points for killing demons? It wasn't just Zhong Yinji and the law enforcers from the punishment hall. Everyone was surprised and flabbergasted. Why was that? On the battlefield of the Two Realms River, the main enemy was the resurrected expert. Compared to the astonishing number of resurrected experts, the number of demons was almost negligible. Furthermore, the threat to the myriad worlds was the resurrected powerhouses. Although the humans and demons were mortal enemies, they were still living beings and had a common enemy. Among the higher-ups of Yuan Tiangong, and even the venerable sovereigns, there were many who tried to rope in the demon race and join forces with them to fight against the resurrected powerhouse. Therefore, killing demons didn't give any merit points. Su Fang suddenly obtained merit points after killing a demon powerhouse. This surprised everyone, including Su Fang, greatly. However, Su Fang had a second thought. It seems that the supreme existences of the imperial people have learned from me that the resurrected experts are colluding with the demons. Therefore, the demons have become the enemies of the human race. The rules of merit points have also changed. It seems that the supreme existences of the imperial people have already started to take action. When Su Fang's waste token no longer surged with demonic qi, everyone was shocked to find that Su Fang's ranking on the merit stele had astonishingly reached 10th place. Being 10th place on the merit stele meant that Su Fang had become the great elder of the Sky Beacon God world. That was a person with real power. Such a result left everyone dumbstruck. Zhong Yinji, in particular, had a look of disbelief in her eyes. In the lifeless wilderness, Su Fang not only killed Dong Moshing's youngest son, but also one of the top 10 experts, Shui Yan, as well as Dong Moshing's consciousness who possessed Shui Yan's body. Who would have thought that it would be so coincidental that the merit stele would suddenly start to calculate merit points for killing demons? The merit stele was personally created by the guardian of exalted celestial mountain. In the Sky Beacon God world, even venerable sovereigns could only calculate merit points, but didn't change the rules of merit points. Now that the rules had suddenly changed, it meant that the human cultivators had listed the demons as their main enemy. Su Fang was now one of the 10 great elders of the Sky Beacon God world. Even venerable sovereigns would have to think twice before making a move on him. Naturally, the punishment hall had no right to punish him. This was what Zhong Yinji was most worried about. If they couldn't obtain the evil god flag, the evil sovereign of Tiandu would be enraged and all of them would suffer great misfortune. Just when everyone thought that this was the end, an extremely cold divine aura suddenly descended and enveloped the merit stele. Facing such a shocking divine aura, everyone felt like ants facing the heavenly Tao. Everyone trembled in fear. Su Fang's heart shook. Venerable sovereigns. This venerable sovereigns is most likely the moon venerable sovereign. Then, a cold voice that sounded like the heavenly Tao resounded from the merit stele. Big Goblin Yuan Li, although he has killed countless resurrected experts and demons and is ranked in the top 10 of the merit stele, he has disobeyed the order and caused the death of Qiu Fang. Therefore, he must be punished and his merit points will be deducted. Zhong Yinji was surprised and happy. The moon venerable sovereign has indeed made his move. This time, Yuan Li is dead for sure. The moon venerable sovereign was reclusive and extremely protective of his own people. If Yuan Li was a human, he wouldn't have said anything about obtaining so many merit points. However, Yuan Li was a demon. He even dared to disobey the punishment hall, which offended the moon venerable sovereign's dignity. Moreover, the moon venerable sovereign knew that Qiu Fang's true identity was Diyuan. No matter what, Diyuan was a peerless genius of the imperial people. Naturally, someone had to take responsibility for his sudden death in the lifeless swamp. Otherwise, the imperial people wouldn't be able to explain it. Therefore, Yuan Li became the unlucky one to take the blame. After all, he was a big goblin. The moon venerable sovereign's voice was still echoing. Su Fang's ranking on the achievement monument rapidly dropped from the 10th rank to the top 100, and continued to drop until he was ranked around 10,000 before coming to a stop. This scene left everyone dumbfounded. Zhong Yinji looked smug and said coldly, "Yuan Li, what else do you have to say now?" "I have nothing to say." Su Fang's eyes were filled with hostility. Other than anger, he also felt helpless. Wang Tian? Wei Wei? Wei Wei? Wei Wei? Wei Wei? Wei Wei? Wei Wei? Huan? Awake? Yuji Qian Huan? Wei Wei? Feng Xiao sent Huang Zhongyao to take charge? Awake? Jia? Get rid of Wei Wei? All the big goblins around them shouted loudly. Even many human cultivators felt that the Moon Venerable Sovereign's punishment was unfair, but no one dared to say a word. A bunch of big goblins dare to be so presumptuous in front of me? A terrifying divine power that could freeze the world descended as the Moon Venerable Sovereign's voice sounded. Wang Tian? Wei 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 Wei? Wei Wei Wei? Wei Wei Wei? Wei Wei? However, the Moon Venerable Sovereign was only warning the big goblin. He didn't really mean to kill them. Otherwise, with his power, he could kill many big goblins with a thought. Wang Tian? Chao Ing Wei Wei Wei? Wei Wei? Wei 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 Wei? Are you looking for material, Yen Ing Huizhi Gully? Forgive Goddess Luo shouted. Lord Moon Venerable Sovereign, how can we accept your punishment like this? If you insist, I'll have to offend you and report this to Xiao Wanting. The Moon Venerable Sovereign shouted coldly. I'm in charge of the punishment hall. Do I need you to tell me what to do with a big goblin? Even Emperor Xiao can't change my decision. Zhong Yinji, bring Yuan Li to the punishment hall and punish him according to the laws of the Sky Beacon Divine World. Yes. Zhong Yinji was very pleased. At the same time, he activated his divine power and was about to shackle Su Fang with a murderous intent. However, at this moment, something strange happened again. From Su Fang's waist token, a purple aura burst out and rushed towards the merit steel, where it was absorbed by the steel. On the merit list, Su Fang's name flickered for a while before disappearing from the merit list. A moment later, a golden Xian Guang flashed on the merit steel again. Su Fang's name reappeared, and he was ranked third. Then, a majestic voice came from the merit steel. The Sky Beacon Divine World is fair in its rewards and punishments. Big Goblin Yuan Li has made a great contribution to the Sky Beacon Divine World. Therefore, he will be rewarded handsomely. The voice did not come from the Moon Venerable Sovereign, but from another Venerable Sovereign. Xiao Wanting. No one expected Xiao Wanting to show up and reward Su Fang with so many merit points. He did not care about the Moon Venerable Sovereign's reputation at all. Under the merit steel, all the cultivators and Big Goblin were dumbfounded. Could it be that the Moon Venerable Sovereign and Xiao Wanting were not on good terms? This was a slap to the Moon Venerable Sovereign's face. The Moon Venerable Sovereign said coldly, Lord Emperor Xiao, what is the meaning of this? Moon Venerable Sovereign, listen to me, Xiao Wanting said majestically. After that, the voices of the two people were no longer heard. The terrifying aura on the merit steel also disappeared without a trace. After a moment of shock, Su Fang immediately understood that the supreme existence of the imperial people had asked Xiao Wanting to show up and resolve the crisis for him. Everyone looked at the name Yuan Li on the merit steel, and then looked at Su Fang. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock and awe. Zhong Yinji's scheme against Su Fang was completely ruined. His face turned pale and he snorted coldly. He was about to leave with the dozen or so enforcers of the punishment hall. At this time, Su Fang said in a cold and embarrassed voice, Zhong Yinji, are you going to leave just like that? Zhong Yinji suppressed his anger and said, What do you want? You tried every possible means to harm me. How could I possibly spare you? Su Fang showed a domineering aura. He was no longer the big goblin who was bullied, but a peerless overlord. Chapter 2400. My temper has always been to seek revenge whenever I have a grudge. If someone punches me once, I'll punch them twice. This time, you want my life. Although I can't kill you or end your life in the Sky Beacon God Realm, I'll at least get some interest back. Su Fang shouted coldly and domineeringly, fully displaying the big goblin's violent and savage side. His current identity was not some human cultivator, but a big goblin. A big goblin should be arrogant, unruly, murderous, and savage. You've killed the top 10 experts in the lifeless prairie, and I've also killed the resurrected wolf demon Lang Xiao. I'd like to see what right you have to be above me. Zhong Yinji's eyes flashed, and an eerie white sword light shot out. In an instant, sword chi billowed into the sky. In an instant, it transformed into a world filled with ghastly sword insight that enveloped Su Fang. This was how powerful a peerless master god was. Their divine might could transform into a world in an instant. Moreover, it was different from the worlds created by Tao integration cultivators. The worlds created by Tao integration cultivators required the great Tao they cultivated to merge with the heavenly Tao. However, a peerless master god could create a world in his body, projecting his divine might out of his body and opening up an independent space between heaven and earth. However, a peerless master god's internal world was different from Su Fang's. The former was a world formed from a single great Tao and nomological law, while Su Fang's internal world was a complete universe. Qi. Although Su Fang looked arrogant on the surface, he was not careless in the slightest. Taking advantage of the fact that Zhong Yinji's world had not yet enveloped him, he used the Divine Arm's Spirit Monkey's movement technique and relied on his astonishing speed to overwhelm Zhong Yinji. He took a step forward like a bolt of black lightning. His silver hair danced in the wind, and his pervasive demonic aura contained a terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth. He shattered the world that Zhong Yinji had just created with his divine might and charged to within 1,000 feet of Zhong Yinji in an instant. Such a short distance was no different from being right in front of Zhong Yinji. The expression on Zhong Yinji's face changed slightly, but he did not panic. After all, this was a higher chief god and one of the 10 great leaders of the Sky Beacon God realm. More than a dozen sword lights quickly appeared in the surroundings, circling in front of him to form a sword light barrier. Not only did it have an astonishing defensive ability, but it also released a strangling power that tore cracks in the surrounding space. This was the power of human sovereigns. They did not need to form hand seals. With just a thought, they could use the divine might of their inner worlds to unleash divine abilities of immense power. QL-11 Boom! Su Fang's powerful and domineering punch landed on the sword light defense. The terrifying power of the great destruction god fist erupted. The earth-shattering power shattered Zhong Yinji's defense, shattering his god body. The void around him also collapsed in an instant, and his body was swept into the black hole formed by the collapse of the void like a leaf being swept away by a strong wind. Su Fang's right arm was badly mutilated by Zhong Yinji's sword light, and his whole body was covered with wounds caused by the sword energy. At the same time, the fierce sword energy drilled into his body, wildly destroying his flesh, meridians, and bones. With a furious roar, Su Fang's body ignited with astonishing demonic fire, refining the sword energy that had drilled into his body. His physical body also quickly recovered as his blood energy surged. Zhong Yinji's figure flashed out of the void thousands of miles away. His face was as pale as paper, and Su Fang had punched a bowl-sized hole in his chest with the power of the great destruction god fist. Moreover, the wound continued to spread, and even though Zhong Yinji's blood energy surged continuously, it was still difficult to heal the wound. Yuan Li, you madman, I will definitely report this to the council hall and imprison you in the vast frost prison. Zhong Yinji roared angrily, and then he disappeared into the void. His words were obviously to give himself a way out. He was definitely going to suffer a great loss this time. Even the vast Frost Emperor could not do anything to Yuan Li, so how could he? The law enforcers of the punishment hall hurriedly left the merit monument with their tails between their legs, afraid that Su Fang would go berserk and attack them. Yuan Li killed the Heavenly Corpse Boy and Shui Yan, one of the top 10 experts of the Lifeless Prairie. Zhong Yinji also killed one of the top 10 experts. Why is the difference between the two of them so great? Zhong Yinji might have killed Lang Shao with the help of other experts, and he completed the final attack to get the credit for killing Lang Shao. Yuan Li faced Shui Yan, Azura, and so many other experts by himself. How can they be compared? The power of Su Fang's punch shocked everyone present, and there was a flurry of discussion. Yuan Li is mighty. The big goblin shouted excitedly, making all the human cultivators lose face. Master's strength is actually so powerful, this little one admires you. Zong 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 zong? Zong zong? Emperor? Zong zong? Zong 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 zong? Goddess Luo looked at Su Fang and frowned. Confusion surged in her deep eyes, and then she flashed into the void. Zong zong zong? Mei mei mei? Mei 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 mei? Mei mei? Mei mei? The Merit Monument was in an uproar. What happened just now quickly spread throughout the Sky Beacon God Realm. The name of the big goblin, Yuan Li, shook the Sky Beacon God Realm again. Su Fang returned to the Big Goblin Mountain where the big goblin lived. Mei Tian? Mei 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 Mei? Mei 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 Su Fang was now one of the 10 giants of the Sky Beacon God Realm. With his status, he could live in an independent secret realm like the other giant. However, Su Fang didn't plan to live in the Sky Beacon God Realm for a long time. He didn't even plan to participate in the power struggle of the Sky Beacon God Realm. He came to the battlefield of the Two-Realm River to train and find an opportunity to break through. I'll stay in my old cave. After some time, I'll return to the battlefield of the Two-Realm River. At that time you'll come with me, Su Fang replied. Mei Tian? Mei Mei? Mei Shu. At the peak of the Demon Mountain, Su Fang prepared to enter the cave where the big goblin, Yuan Li, used to live. Seeing that the cave was sealed by demonic energy, he remembered that the big goblin, Yuan Li's cave, was occupied by a lion demon. Su Fang touched the tip of his nose and smiled helplessly. Sure ba, come out. Mei Tian? Mei Mei Mei? Mei Mei? Mei Mei? Mei Mei? 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 Mei Mei? Mei Bei Bo? Mei Mei Mei? Mei? Bananas with the smell of Huiyu and Yimu? Mei Mei? Mei Mei? That sure ba is in seclusion in his cave. Mei Tian? Mei 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 Mei? Mei Mei? Mei 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 Mei? Mei Mei Mei? Mei Mei? Mei Mei? Mei 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 Mei? Mei Tian Lord? Mei Tian? Mei Mei? Mei 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 Mei? Mei Mei? E.g. Lu Ji. Then, when he saw Su Fang behind him, Sure Ba understood. He snorted and said, Yuan Li, you invited Lord Wang Tian because you want to take back your cave? Humph, my abode was bestowed by the demon Venerable. How dare you snatch it from me? He had been entrenched in the cave all these years and had never stepped out. Naturally, he did not know that in a short period of time, the big goblin Yuan Li in front of him was no longer the Yuan Li of the past. Relying on the support of the demon Venerable, not to mention Su Fang, even Wang Tian? Take a guess? Hui Jing Xing among the big goblin that had come to the Sky Beacon God Realm. He looked up at the sky. Flirtatious Pi 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 ZZ Pi 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 June? Return? Gang? Mother of Catalpa? Dazed? Sucking on the lark? What? Street-type crane? Su Fang chuckled. Facing the heavens? Chao Dang defeated the corpse of the shore source Huang Qianxian? Roasted Wu Jingju in heavens? Yi Hui? Idiot? Also? Yi Chuan Go Jiao Xin? Gathering Zhao Xian's punishment? Tu Maid Wu? Jun Huang Qiaobazi? Immediately looking up at the sky? By Huan Shang? Bin? Jiao Shi? By Huan Jiao Jiao Pai Yuan Li Shi? Ingfeng Bu Sali Shi? Song Jian Jie Jian Shi? By Hui Yi? By Lang? Let him live. I lack a big goblin in my natal magic treasure. This Sure Ba is qualified to become a small commander. Su Fang looking up at the sky? Wan Yi, that Sure Ba was a lion demon whose strength was comparable to Yuan Li's. Of course, he was qualified to become a small commander in Xian Wang's Six Paths Pagoda. This was also because Su Fang's vision was high now. A normal big goblin with the strength of a main god was not qualified to become a big commander in Xian Wang's Six Paths Pagoda. This little lion demon will follow master from now on. It's his good fortune. Wantian? Bai hui? Bai hui? Shameful. Then, he reached out and grabbed Shurba out of the pile of rocks. Shurba was a powerful big goblin with the strength of a lower Maine god. He was usually awe-inspiring, but now he was looking up at the sky. Bai hui? Bai hui? Huang? Bai hui? His position depends on his plaque? Bai hui whoosh. A strong and hot demon aura suddenly descended in front of the cave abode. It quickly condensed into a middle-aged man in a fiery red robe. It was the mythical beast Qilin, who was respected as a demon saint. As if his savior had arrived, Shurba shouted loudly, "Demon Lord, save me! Wang Tian and Yuanli dare to ignore your dignity. You must teach them a lesson." Who knew? The mythical beast Qilin cupped its fists at Su Fang and bowed. "Greetings, Lord Yuanli." Su Fang looked coldly at the mythical beast Qilin. "Are you going to stand up for Shurba?" The mythical beast Qilin laughed heartily. "Lord Yuanli, please don't misunderstand. You're the great elder of the Sky Beacon God world. Naturally, you have the final say in this demon mountain. That little lion demon dares to offend you. He's courting death. You can punish him however you want." "Great elder!" Shurba was completely stunned. He looked at Su Fang, trembling. "I'm lacking some powerful big goblin subordinates. If you don't want to die, you'd better submit to me obediently." Su Fang rolled out a gust of demon aura from his palm and drew Shurba into his body. Then, he shackled him to the first level of the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda. Just like that, another powerful big goblin was added to his natal magic treasure. "I still have to cultivate. I won't accompany you, Demon Lord," Su Fang said majestically to the mythical beast Qilin. Then, he walked into the cave. "Demon Lord Yuanli is really diligent. In our demon clan, it's very rare to see a big goblin who cultivates so diligently." The mythical beast Qilin laughed. Its eyes and tone were full of flattery. The law of the jungle was especially obvious among the big goblins. Although Su Fang was only at the level of a lesser lord god, his strength was definitely higher than Wang Tian. "Wang Tian zi luo shui? Zuiyu xian luo shui? Zuiyu xian luo shui shi?" "Yuanli, I have something to ask you." Chapter 2401. He didn't expect Goddess Luo to suddenly visit. Su Fang welcomed Goddess Luo into the cave, and the stone door immediately closed. Human cultivators and Big Goblin had always been incompatible. Cultivators caught Big Goblin, and Big Goblin ate cultivators. Only in the Sky Beacon Divine Realm could human cultivators and Big Goblin coexist. At this moment, a great beauty actually entered the cavern of a great demon. It was truly strange. QL11 looking at Su Fang's cave, the Qilin divine beast chuckled. "Heavens? Luo 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 zi luo zheng? Luo luo zi luo? Luo luo zi luo? I wouldn't dare. I'm thinking that Lord Yuanli's relationship with this Ku Qintian is a little unusual. Could it be that there will be a love between a human and a demon between them? Heavens? Luo luo zi luo zi? Luo zi? Pang hui luo zi luo zi luo? Luo zi luo zi luo? Luo zi? Luo zi luo zi luo? T? Luo luo zi luo zi? Mimu? Lang Kong Lu? Luo Shi? Ji? Luo zi? Luo Xian? Take? Invade? Luo zi luo zi luo zi? Luo zi? Luo zi luo zi luo? Luo luo zi luo? Inside the cave. This was also the first time Su Fang had entered Yuanli's former abode. Upon closer inspection, he discovered that the abode was extremely simple and crude. Rather than calling it an abode, it would be better to call it a cave. It was only slightly better than the lair of ordinary wild beasts, but it was still filled with a foul and monstrous aura. Su Fang swept out a demonic wind and swept away all the stench in the cave. He invited Goddess Luo to sit on the stone bench. The two didn't know what to say, and the atmosphere was a little strange. Su Fang looked at Goddess Luo's face. Somehow, the feeling of their fates being intertwined surfaced once again. Yuan Li, congratulations on entering the meeting hall and becoming one of the 10 giants of the Sky Beacon Divine Realm. Goddess Luo said. Her voice was pleasant to the ear, ethereal and otherworldly, breaking the silence in the cave. Yuan Li grinned. Miss Luo, you didn't come all the way here just to congratulate me, did you? Of course not. Other than congratulating you, I have also come here to repay you for saving my life. Last time, I left the lifeless prairie in a hurry and didn't have the time to thank you. That is why I have specially come here to thank you. Goddess Luo took out a storage ring which was enveloped by Xian Guang. It slowly flew towards Su Fang. Su Fang grabbed the storage ring and sent his consciousness into it. There were 10,000 creation holy pills in the ring, as well as a large number of spiritual items that would be of great help to the big goblin's cultivation. There were also a dozen or so extremely rare demon artifacts, and one of them was a half-creation golden ring Dharma treasure. Su Fang had robbed the Yuan Tiangong's Alpha Hall, so he had countless resources and treasures in his hands. Although the gifts from Goddess Luo were valuable, they were nothing to Su Fang. However, Su Fang still accepted Goddess Luo's kind intentions. After a moment of silence, Goddess Luo stared at Su Fang and asked, Lord Yuan Li asked me about that sesame seed cake last time, which made me very curious. Can you tell me what happened? This was the main reason why she came here. In the lifeless prairie, when she was preparing to save Su Fang who was being chased by various forces, her foster father suddenly took her away from the lifeless prairie. Goddess Luo became more and more confused, which was why she came here to ask, hoping to find some clues. Other than the memory of that sesame seed cake, I have forgotten everything else. Su Fang smiled bitterly. The feeling of his fate being controlled by someone else made him feel very helpless. Goddess Luo revealed a disappointed expression and left embarrassedly. There was a long silence. Su Fang muttered to himself, Su Fang's fate can only be controlled by myself. One day, I will find the part of my fate that was erased and find the person who erased my fate. He calmed his breathing. When he calmed down, Su Fang began to think of his next plan. I'll enter seclusion again and see if I can break through to the Over-God realm. If it doesn't work, I'll have to continue entering the Two Realms River and search for an opportunity to break through. Evil Lord Tiandu's life and death interdependence and the method of reversing life and death is one of the methods for me to break through to the Over-God realm. However, I can't try it easily. If there's a chance, I can capture some of the cultivator puppets modified by Evil Lord Tiandu and find some clues from them. Heavenly Fire Divine Lord's Purple Aura Dharma Spirit might be another opportunity for me to break through. I have to think of a way to infiltrate the lair of the revived expert, capture Heavenly Fire Divine Lord, and extract the Purple Aura Dharma Spirit. There's also the whereabouts of Luo, Qingyu, and Sister Bai. Therefore, I have to make another trip to the Two Realms River. Su Fang was now focused on breaking through to the Over-God realm and rescuing Shu Wanjin from the Advent Palace. Only then could he enter the exalted Celestial Mountain and find a way to stop the world's metamorphosis. Otherwise, everything would be for naught. As for the puppets controlled by the revived expert that infiltrated the Sky Beacon God world and colluded with the demon race and other evil forces, the peerless existences of the imperial people and venerable sovereigns would deal with them. Su Fang did not even think about it. Just as he was thinking, Su Fang raised his eyebrows. Is Lord Yuan Li here? A voice filled with respect came from outside the cave. Su Fang asked, What's the matter? I've been ordered to deliver the Grand Elder's waste token, clothes, and various resources that belong to you, Lord. You're here to deliver benefits. Su Fang's spirit was suddenly lifted, and his eyes shone brightly. He had just been promoted to Grand Elder, but he did not expect benefits to come knocking on his door. Although Su Fang did not lack resources, who would complain about having too much money. A middle-aged man walked in after opening the cave. He bowed respectfully to Su Fang and presented him with a storage ring. Su Fang took out all the items from the storage ring and saw tens of millions of king-grade pills floating in the Xianguang. There were all kinds of pills, including 10,000 creation saint pills. Su Fang even saw the Heaven's Response pill that he used to refine when he was in the Yuan Tiangong. He could not help but be speechless. In addition to pills, there were all kinds of resources, including divine stones, gems, spiritual items, spirit veins, and even a drop of blood essence from a great saint of the demon race. Of course, this was also because Su Fang had just been promoted to Grand Elder, so he was suddenly given such an astonishing amount of resources. He would not receive such benefits in the future. However, Su Fang's merit points could also be exchanged for all kinds of treasures and resources. With so many resources, Su Fang was overjoyed. He did not become the Grand Elder of the Sky Beacon Divine World in vain. There was also a purple gold Taoist robe that only the Grand Elder of the conference hall could wear. It was a half-creation grade treasure with amazing defensive capabilities. It could also change its style and color. Su Fang's ancestral dragon protector was destroyed, so this Taoist robe could be considered a timely help. There was also a purple gold waist token. Different from the previous waist token, this Grand Elder's robe had the image of the Yuan Tiangong and the Merit Monument engraved on it. Moreover, by activating the waist token's divine power, one could control the power of the Sky Beacon Divine World and multiply their strength in the Sky Beacon Divine World. The middle-aged man said, "May I ask if Lord Yuanli has any other orders?" Su Fang asked, "What position does this venerable have in the conference hall?" The middle-aged man stammered, This lowly one's status is low, so I don't know what position has been assigned to Lord." "So there is no position for this venerable?" Su Fang sneered in his heart. Zhong Yinji's ranking on the Merit Monument was lower than Su Fang's, so he could become the Grand Elder of the Punishment Hall and a big shot of the Sky Beacon Divine World. The upper echelons of the Sky Beacon Divine World were mainly venerable emperors, but they did not assign Su Fang a position that matched his status. Naturally, it was because Su Fang was a big goblin and not a human cultivator. Although Xiao Wanning spoke up for Su Fang when the Merit Monument confirmed the merit points, he definitely did not know Su Fang's true identity. At most, he would only think of him as a big goblin who had made great contributions to the Sky Beacon Divine World. Su Fang did not care about any real power. What could be better than getting benefits and not having to do anything? After sending the middle-aged man away, Su Fang stretched out his hand and sucked all the resources into his storage ring. Then, he looked up at the sky. Wan Yu? Di Zhan Yu Dui Huan Wen Ben Lai? Street? School? Beautiful bureau Xin Kuli? Carbonyls quietly close to each other, the game is afflicted by the illness of the blade, and the tweezers close together? Rosie? Taunt. Yes. I will definitely do my best, but those big goblin are all unruly and difficult to tame, especially that Qilin godly beast. Because it has the pure bloodline of a godly beast, it may look polite, but it is actually very arrogant. I'm afraid it will be very difficult to tame it. Which one of the big goblin that came to the Sky Beacon God realm didn't come for benefits? As long as you offer enough benefits, is there a big goblin that you can't tame? Su Fang smiled domineeringly. Then, a burst of divine might swept up the dozen or so storage rings and disappeared into the void. A moment later, the blood essence of a great sage of the demon race, a half-fortune realm demon artifact, and so many resources. Master, did you just ransack the Sky Beacon Divine World's treasury? Why didn't you call me? Heavens! How Guang dizzy? Trampling the streets? To seek profit from a rut? What? Gatha closed bird nest gray selection, so what if the Sky Beacon God realm's treasury is? Su Fang snorted disdainfully. Indeed, he had looted all the treasures in the Yuan Tiangong's imperial pivot hall, so how could the Sky Beacon God Realm's treasury compare to his? You can choose one of the great saint's blood essence and the demon artifact. You can use the other to convince the Qilin. As for the other elixirs and resources, you can try to subdue the other big goblin. If it's not enough, you can come back to me. Thank you, Master. I'm willing to lay down my life for you. Arrange for Wantian? Qi Yimin? Crushing hammer? Why are you so annoyed? Slow down? Shout in anger? Scream? Waves? Major? Hasty Fu Ee. In the lifeless plains, Su Fang had made a breakthrough in his mental fortitude after killing Di Yuan. At that time, he felt like he had touched upon the realm of over-gods. After returning to the Sky Beacon God Realm, he had obtained a large amount of merit points. At the same time, he had also obtained the providence of the heavenly Tao. This had greatly increased Su Fang's chances of breaking through. Su Fang did not dare to try the method of rebirth after death that he had comprehended from the evil dominator of Tiandu unless he was fully prepared and at the very last moment. In the internal space of the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda, Su Fang had returned to his original body. He formed hand seals and shattered his physical body, transforming it into the blue sky Yellow Springs state. At the same time, he devoured elixirs, spirit items, blood crystals, and other resources to rapidly increase his strength and physical body. Chapter 2402. When Su Fang was cultivating in the Yuan Tiangong Temple of Sages, he had read countless books. He had also consulted the two sovereigns, Sang Qiu, Wei Dao, and Sangyan Hai many times. He had a deep understanding of breaking through to become a lord. When a god reached the convergence realm, they would become one with the way of the heavens. With the way of the heavens as a foundation, they would create and derive their own laws. Lords would go one step further. They would use their own great Tao and laws to continuously cultivate their spiritual dwellings from an energy space into a world of their own. From there, they would possess an inner world. A master god could project the world in his body into the outside world, creating a world of his own in the natural world. Unlike convergence realm gods, although the inner world of a lord was attached to the universe, it was still bound by the constraints of the universe. However, everything in the inner world, including matter, energy, and laws, was derived from their own great Tao. They did not need to borrow the essence of the universe. They were the absolute masters of the world. This was where the title of Lord came from. Moreover, Lord's mastery of nature had reached the pinnacle. They could control the power of the way of the heavens with just a thought, as if they were the absolute masters of a certain great Tao. Breaking through to become a lord was actually a process for cultivators to break free from the shackles of the universe and form their own self. As Su Fang cultivated the 9 suns 9 changes and the world tree, they were supreme great Taos on the same level as the way of the heavens. After reaching the convergence realm, Su Fang's inner world would become a world of its own. From this point alone, Su Fang had reached the level of a peerless lord long ago. However, his inner world was completely different from the inner worlds of other lords. Why was this? Other lords had cultivated a certain great Tao to the extreme, then comprehended their own great Tao and opened up their inner worlds. As a result, the internal worlds of overgods were all formed from a certain way as a foundation. For example, a peerless lord who cultivated the great Tao of fire would have an inner world mainly composed of fire. When he released his divine might, it would become a world of fire. Sovereigns who had surpassed lords would begin to develop a single great Tao. They would only be able to break free from the shackles of the universe when their inner worlds had become a world of their own. As for Su Fang's inner world, it was a universe that encompassed all great Taos. It was just that it was still in a growth stage. As a result, Su Fang's breakthrough to overgod was completely different from other overgods. The rejection and restraint of the heavenly Tao was something that other sovereigns would rarely encounter. As a result, Su Fang's attempt to break through to become a lord was unprecedented. He could only figure it out on his own, unable to learn anything from others. I might not necessarily succeed in breaking through to become a chief god this time. Failure is something that can be expected. However, it's still an attempt. The path I'm taking is completely different from others. Only through repeated failures and trial and error will I be able to find the correct path to the peak. The eyes of Su Fang, who was sitting cross-legged in the middle of the pool of blood, were filled with incomparable determination. QL11 whoosh, whoosh. The blood, water, and sky formed by Su Fang were extremely shocking, as if it was a world made of blood. The devouring ability was also extremely shocking. When he controlled the blue sky underworld to attack, the blood water surged like the roaring of the sea. The sky was also filled with blood clouds, which was terrifying. As the elixirs and other resources were devoured, the world of blood and water began to burn, surging with astonishing flames of life. The impact of various powers was truly terrifying. Even some peerless sovereigns would not dare to use so much power at once. However, Su Fang did not have to worry about his body exploding from the power at all in the state of the blue sky underworld. About 1,000 years passed. Since breaking through to become a chief god was very important, the fluctuations of time passing in the chronoformation might affect the breakthrough. Therefore, Su Fang did not create the chronoformation. The 1,000 years were real. An astonishing aura surged from the blue sky underworld. The eyes of the body sitting cross-legged in the middle of the pool of blood burned with an unusually fierce aura. His power was about to surpass the peak of the Tao integration realm and break through to become a chief god. When Su Fang was in the Yuan Tiangong Saint Temple, he had already reached the peak of the Tao integration realm. When he came to the battlefield of the Two Realms River and used the demon transfiguration technique, the demonic aura and demonic aura he devoured were all converted into his cultivation base. This time, he had devoured pills and spiritual items without restraint. Surpassing the Tao integration realm was not something shocking. Whoosh! The pool of blood and the sky of blood swirled violently. Su Fang instantly transformed into his human form. Then, he quickly used the demon transfiguration technique to transform into the big goblin Yuanli. With a sway of his body, he disappeared from the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda. He put away the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda and left the Demon Mountain in an instant. He passed through the barrier and teleported out of the Sky Beacon God world, arriving in nature. After transforming back into his original form, Su Fang merged with the heavenly Tao and traveled through endless space. He arrived at an abandoned god world that was far away from the Sky Beacon God world. On a mountain peak, Su Fang sat cross-legged and released Shroud's clone. He issued a murderous order. Anyone who approaches the god world is to be killed without mercy. As long as he successfully became a chief god, it meant that there was no need to continue training in the Two Realms River. It did not matter even if his identity was exposed. That was why Su Fang released Shroud's clone without any hesitation. After the arrangements were made and he formed a hand seal, his aura rapidly faded into nothingness. In an instant, his physical body turned into nothingness. His physical body, primordial spirit, and even his second primordial spirit merged into the heavenly Tao Palace. At this moment, Su Fang completely disappeared from heaven and earth. Not only his aura, even his fate seemed to have been cut off from heaven and earth. Not long after, vast dark clouds appeared in the depths of the endless sky. They came from all directions, causing the 7 divine suns and evil suns in the sky to dim. Thunder rumbled and shook heaven and earth. A terrifying aura shrouded heaven and earth, as if a terrifying catastrophe was brewing. The formless divine might of the heavenly Tao enveloped heaven and earth, causing everything in the world to feel as if doomsday had arrived. Everything trembled under the supreme might of the heavenly Tao. The Sky Beacon God world. In the void outside the boundary, As the divine light of the void flashed again and again, figures emerged one after another. There were a total of 5 figures, and all of them were supreme sovereigns. They were Shao Wanting, the moon god emperor, and a scholarly middle-aged man in a python robe. These 3 sovereigns were the overseers of the sky beacon god world on the surface. There were also 2 supreme sovereigns who had never shown themselves. This is strange. Not long ago, the heavenly Tao showed a strange phenomenon for no reason. Why is there such a heavenly omen now? Someone must have ascended to the sovereign realm. However, when we tried to break through to the sovereign realm, there was no heavenly might that covered heaven and earth. The 5 supreme sovereigns looked at each other. They did not understand, but they felt that it was amazing. On the other side of the sky curtain, that was separated from the sky beacon god world. Could it be that another supreme sovereign has been born in the human race? If another supreme sovereign has been born in the human race, it will not be good for our race. Even if another 10 supreme sovereigns are born, how can they stop the supreme evil god? In the end, all of humanity will die. Some extremely powerful demon saints and evil sovereigns walked out of the darkness one after another. They were surprised by the might of the heavenly Tao. In the Yuan Tiangong, a white-robed man walked out of the chaotic space in the deepest part of the Yuan Tiangong. With a flash of divine light, he left the Yuan Tiangong and came to nature. Transcendence? A cultivator wants to transcend heaven and earth? The heavenly Tao is brewing a catastrophe. Who is this person? The white-robed man was the supreme existence of the imperial people. He looked up at the sky, his eyes flashing with disbelief and a hint of jealousy. He had already reached the peak of the supreme sovereign realm, but there was little hope for him to break free from the shackles of heaven and earth and take the step to transcend this universe. He tried to fuse with the heavenly Tao to deduce the source of the phenomenon, but he was greatly disappointed. With his strength and the supreme ability to control the heavenly Tao, it was difficult for him to deduce much useful information. Therefore, the supreme existence of the imperial people was more and more certain that someone was breaking through to the supreme sovereign realm and transcending heaven and earth. Only such a high level could make it difficult for him, a peak sovereign realm existence, to deduce. However, he recalled all the supreme sovereigns, including the supreme sovereigns of the demon race and other evil existences, but it was difficult to deduce who had the possibility of surpassing the supreme sovereign realm and transcending heaven and earth. In the highest and deepest place of the universe, the source of heaven and earth, a figure walked out of nothingness, as if he had come from beyond the heavens. The mountain guardian. There are signs of transcending heaven and earth and the universe when breaking through to the Master God realm. This child is indeed extraordinary, very extraordinary. Unfortunately, he cannot sever the karma of the heavenly Tao, so it will be difficult for him to transcend this universe. The mountain guardian's eyes flashed, and Su Fang's figure appeared in his eyes. This child still needs to work hard. It's only 100,000 years. I'm afraid it will be difficult. The mountain guardian shook his head and sighed, then his figure disappeared into nothingness again. Su Fang was breaking through to the God realm where the supreme sovereign realm was. From the boundless sky, an empty and majestic aura descended, enveloping the God realm and the surrounding area of millions of miles, forming a strong wind of nothingness. With the place where Su Fang disappeared as the center, it instantly turned into a terrifying hurricane vortex. Looking down from the sky of the God realm, it was as if an invisible hand was trying to grab Su Fang, who had turned into nothingness, out of the vortex. The mountain peak was instantly crushed by the hurricane, turning into nothingness energy and disappearing without a trace. Even the surrounding nothingness was collapsing, forming a black hole that swept in all directions. In less than the time for an incense stick to burn, the entire God realm was swallowed by the black hole. Nethery's doppelganger, who was guarding Su Fang outside the God realm, looked coldly at the place where Su Fang disappeared. He had no intention of helping. Boom. A part of the universe that transcended heaven and earth was pulled out of nothingness by the black hole. Then, he quickly transformed into Su Fang's human form. With a flash, he broke free from the shackles of the black hole and flew out of the area covered by the black hole. The power of the heavenly Tao in nothingness quickly faded away, and the various anomalies in the sky soon disappeared. Chapter 2403. Without a doubt, Su Fang had failed in his attempt to break through to Lord level. When he merged everything in his body with the world in his body and turned it into a universe, he felt like he was about to break free from the shackles and restraints of heaven and earth. That feeling was truly wonderful. In fact, Su Fang could even vaguely sense the vast world without any shackles. However, this state did not last long. Just as he was about to break free from the shackles of heaven and earth, astonishing shackles surged out from heaven and earth, as well as the power of destiny that existed in the unseen world. They forcibly bound him back to heaven and earth. It was also thanks to the supreme luck that the purple cloud Dharma spirit had brought to Su Fang, as well as the heavenly luck that he had obtained from killing the resurrected powerhouse earlier. As a result, the unseen power of destiny merely pulled him back to heaven and earth instead of killing him. Otherwise, Su Fang's failure to break through to Lord level might have led to his death. Su Fang used the ethereal primordial realm's remarkable ability to condense matter in the void, instantly forming a matter that covered an area of 100 miles. Shroud's clone hid in the void to protect him. Then, Su Fang used the heaven underworld to madly devour blood crystals, pills, and various spiritual items to recover from his injuries. A physical body quickly condensed in the blood, and he sank into deep thought. Although I failed to break through to Lord level this time, I gained quite a lot. Su Fang carefully recalled the entire process of breaking through to Lord level and summarized his experience of failure. Unification is to merge oneself with the heavenly way. Lord level is to create their own world in heaven and earth. Venerable sovereigns constantly cultivate their own world to the extreme and cultivate their own heavenly way. Only then can they break free from the shackles and restraints of heaven and earth and achieve transcendence. The supreme heavenly way that I cultivate is actually to cultivate the universe of heaven and earth from the very beginning, to transcend heaven and earth. Therefore, my way is to transcend the way of heaven and earth. However, it's easier said than done to transcend heaven and earth. Thinking of this, Su Fang smiled bitterly. Although I've cultivated the universe within my body, to truly achieve transcendence isn't just about accumulating power to the extreme. I still have to sever the karma of fate that exists with this world. Only then can I control my own fate and transcend the shackles of the heavenly Tao. I was born and grew up in this world, and my cultivation completely came from this world. My fate has been connected to the heaven Tao since a long time ago, so how could it be so easy to escape the restraints of fate? After a long time. It's not like I didn't gain anything from this attempt. At least I've figured out the direction of my future cultivation. In addition, the ultimate way of the heavens that I train in will allow me to transcend the universe once I reach the over-God level. The universe in my body hasn't been fully formed yet. Of course, I can't be as powerful as the transcendents like you and the Mountain Guardian, but I can still break free from the shackles of the heavenly Tao for a short period of time and truly control my own destiny. Thinking of this, Su Fang regained his unusual expression. If I can cultivate the heaven's secret life shrinking technique to the highest level, my purple cloud Dharma spirit will reach an even higher level. Then, I will be able to sever my connection with the heavenly Tao and transcend it. Su Fang quickly figured out the first method. The heaven's secret life shrinking technique contained the astounding ability to sever one's fate. As for the purple cloud Dharma spirit, it gave Su Fang supreme providence. At the same time, it allowed Su Fang's inner world to possess supreme heavenly Tao providence. As long as the two reached their limits, one could naturally sever one's fate and escape the shackles and restraints, truly transcending samsara. However, Su Fang had persisted in cultivating the heaven's secret life shrinking technique for so many years. It was extremely difficult to improve it, and it was impossible to cultivate it to its limits without a long period of accumulation. As for the purple cloud Dharma spirit, it was much simpler. All he had to do was find heavenly fire divine lord and kill him. He would strip him of his purple cloud Dharma spirit and fuse the two into one. When that happened, the purple cloud Dharma spirit's ability would definitely rise to new height. There's still another method. That is death. Severing everything from the universe. Since I'm dead, it means the end of everything. There will naturally be no more shackles or restraints. This method is just too dangerous. I definitely can't use this method until the very last moment. After a moment of silence, Su Fang took out the primordial chaos sacred mirror. I wonder how senior sister is doing now. It turned out that Su Fang wanted to consult Shu Wanjin. When it came to cultivation, he could only consult Shu Wanjin at the moment. It was difficult for an emperor to give Su Fang any good advice, but Shu Wanjin was different. After all, she cultivated the 9E9 transformations. He stripped off a wisp of his yang soul and poured it into the central spacetime of the ancient mirror along with his yang energy before transmitting his thoughts. Shu Wanjin had condensed an energy seed from Shroud's energy and was cultivating in the Advent Divine Palace. There had been no news of her, so she was probably still cultivating in seclusion. Who knew, to Su Fang's surprise, just as he transmitted his thoughts, a black mirror immediately surged out from the central spacetime. Then, Shu Wanjin's voice gushed out along with a frost aura. The aura of absolute frost became even more vast, and the divine might became even more astonishing. Clearly, Shu Wanjin had fused with Shroud's energy seed, and her abilities had improved tremendously. Su Fang estimated that Shu Wanjin had successfully broken through to Lord level and become a lower rank Lord level. Su Fang, we haven't contacted each other for a long time. I've also just become a Master God not long ago and am still consolidating my realm. You actually have 74 Yang Meridians and have reached the peak of the Tao integration stage. You're about to become a Supreme Master God. Shu Wanjin's voice was filled with shock and surprise. Seeing Shu Wanjin's reaction, Su Fang was also very happy. Although Shu Wanjin was his senior sister in name, she was actually no different from his master. Su Fang felt very proud to be able to make his master gasp in surprise. When Su Fang obtained the primordial chaos sacred mirror, Shu Wanjin's existence was like the heavens in his heart. Now, less than 300,000 years had passed and Su Fang was almost catching up with Shu Wanjin. How could he not be happy? Senior sister, I've encountered a big problem when breaking through to become a Master God. Su Fang slowly told Shu Wanjin about the problem he had encountered. After a long silence, it was obvious that Shu Wanjin was also thinking very hard. Although we're cultivating the dual cultivation technique, the great Tao that you're cultivating is already different from mine due to coincidence. Therefore, I didn't encounter the shackles that you encountered when becoming a Master God. Right now, I can only give you suggestions for your reference. I can't teach you how to do it. Please advise me, senior sister. The breakthrough method that you've comprehended from reviving a venerable lord after death and establishing after destruction is indeed feasible. Moreover, it's also inspired me a lot. Who knows, I might use this method as a reference in the future. Su Fang said hesitantly, but this method is really too dangerous. It's like putting one's life on the line and fighting to survive, Shu Wanjin reprimanded. Have you forgotten what the 8th transformation of the 9 Yang 9 transformations is? 4 divisions transformation? Su Fang was stunned. Then, his heart shook. It was as if a bolt of lightning had flashed through his mind, shattering the confusion in his heart in an instant. QL 11-inch The yin-yang transformation crushes everything and reverts to its original state, turning it into innate chaotic qi. As for the four divisions transformation, the ability of the four divisions transformation is to reconstruct. After destruction, reconstruct. I understand now. I can borrow the power of the four divisions seal to strengthen my body, shattering and destroying everything about me until I'm dead. Then, I can borrow the power of the four divisions seal to reconstruct myself. So, the origin sacred mirror already has a way to come back from death and transcend heaven and earth. I was actually looking everywhere for a way to break through to the Master God realm. How foolish! After understanding all this, Su Fang immediately became high-spirited. The ability of the four divisions transformation was to reconstruct after destruction. It was similar to the path of life and death that evil dominator Tian Du used. However, it was 1,000 times, no, 10,000 times better. Now you finally understand how amazing the Origin Sacred Mirror is, right? Actually, the Origin Sacred Mirror contains all the mysteries of the Heavenly Tao. It's up to you to discover it. Thank you for your reminder, senior sister. You are indeed extraordinary to be able to comprehend the path of transcendence that coincides with the four divisions transformation from the divine ability of a revived sovereign. Even I, as your senior sister, have to admire you for this. If not for your idea that inspired me, I would never have thought that the four divisions transformation actually contains the path of transcendence. Su Fang chuckled. Unexpectedly, Xu Wanjin continued to reprimand him coldly. However, it's definitely not easy to transform yourself with the four divisions seal and reconstruct yourself after destruction. To be safe, you still have to be well prepared. At least, you have to master the four divisions transformation to the extreme. If you fail again, you will be doomed eternally. Su Fang, work hard. Don't slack off on the Nine Suns transformation. Every time you develop a yang meridian, the world in your body will become more mature. The chances of you breaking through to the Master God realm will also increase. When you become a Master God, you will not be bound by heaven and earth. My chances of leaving the Advent Palace will also be greater. Just like before, Xu Wanjin's voice gradually drifted away inside the black mirror. The black mirror also suddenly disappeared without a trace. Next, Su Fang used the great Tao of time to create an array. It took him more than 100 years to recover from his injuries to his peak state. At the same time, he also sorted out his future cultivation plans. Next, I have to continue cultivating the Nine Suns transformation and the Four Divisions transformation. I can't neglect the Heavenly Secret Life shrinking technique. However, the most important thing now is to find a way to find Heavenly Fire Divine Lord and obtain his Purple Clouds Dharma Spirit. Otherwise, when the resurrected experts become more powerful, it won't be so easy to kill him and obtain his Purple Clouds Dharma Spirit. Su Fang sorted out his thoughts and felt enlightened. Then, he used the fiendish demon transfiguration technique to transform into the big goblin Yuan Li and returned to the sky beacon divine world. The moment he entered the cave abode. Heavens? Gu Pain? Wan Gu Tuan? By Gu Tuan Mei? How about the four sides of the earth? By Gu Tuan Mei? Ku. What? Do I have to tell you in advance where I'm going? Heavens? Gao Tuan? Mao Huanyao? Di Zhou Huiyao. Chapter 2404. Heavens? Cursed? Cursed? Why did the demon shrug its shoulders? The thumb of a bridle? What? Salary? Seed? She dared to make such a fuss in front of Satin Street Charm Sulong Fxian? Snipe? Pop? Tie the cockatoo to the magpie to make merry? Br? What? Ostrich Kai Chiao Tiao Shirchi Nunnery Finger Tua Take. 1/3? So much? And so many sovereigns. QL11 Su Fang was also shocked by the numbers. There were no less than 100,000 big goblins in Demon Mountain, and they were all extremely powerful big goblins. Almost all of them had gone through bloody battles in the Two Realms River. They were not ordinary big goblins. Heavens? Mao Fu? Seed? Huang Fan? What? Comprehension books? Wanshou Heavens? Chong Nai? What? Are you blinking your eyes at the beach? Trying to step on the swollen armpit to find Gaxan? Mei Si Shin Mao Su Shin Chue Min Ao Nua Tua Tua? Yu Xian Nong Sanxing? Hoop? Terror? Blink? Surnamed Shin Tsang and Shin Tsang? Calf June? Pung 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 Pung. Did the Qilin divine beast agree to this lord's conditions? That Qilin is very cunning. It wants the demon clan's blood essence that Master took out, but it doesn't want to lose its freedom. Humph, how can there be such a good thing? Su Fang wasn't too surprised. How could such a powerful divine beast submit to a demon monkey that was much weaker than it? Heavens? Yu Pang Jiu Pang Fei Luo Gui Zi Ku 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 Ku? Spending money to play with private rings? Emo Chun Mei said Neon Seed School? Was it Fu Yao, the woodcutter, who squeezed his mother? Mei Shu. Fight with me? Su Fang said domineeringly. Very well, then let this Qilin monster know how powerful I am. Su Fang returned to his cave residence after agreeing on a time and place to fight the mythical beast Qilin. Several days later, a cultivator from the human race's assembly hall came forward and invited Su Fang to the assembly hall to discuss an important matter in half a month's time. He didn't say what it was exactly, but it was definitely related to the Sky Beacon God realm. Su Fang originally did not wish to involve himself too much in the matters of the Sky Beacon divine world. However, he planned on entering the River of Two Realms a second time to seek out Heavenly Fire Divine Lord, as well as Luo, Qin Yu, and Bai Ling. It was naturally beneficial for him to learn more about the revival of experts. Half a month later, Su Fang left the cave and headed straight for the central region of the Sky Beacon God realm. When they passed by a floating city, Su Fang raised his eyebrows and flew towards the city. This city was the trading city of the Sky Beacon God realm. The city's real name was Merit City because there was a mountain of merit in the city. It was a place where cultivators and Big Goblin could exchange merit points for resources and treasures. Many cultivators and Big Goblin would trade at the foot of the Mountain of Merit, and it gradually became the trading center of the Sky Beacon God realm. The upper echelons of the Sky Beacon God realm were happy to see this. Not only did they not restrict the trade, they even sent enforcers to oversee it. Su Fang was prepared to exchange all his merit points for resources. To him, merit points were meaningless. They were only useful if he exchanged them for resources and treasures. Currently, only top-grade pills and spirit items were useful for his cultivation. He also had a huge amount of resources that even sovereigns would be envious of. However, he had so many subordinates, including the Sanctum of Sages, the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, and the Jianmu Tree. There were also tens of millions of cultivators and hundreds of millions of mortals. Even though they could be self-sufficient, no one knew what would happen in the future. At the same time, Su Fang was also preparing to enter the River of Two Realms again. He might be able to find some useful treasures. In the Palace of the Mountain of Merit, Su Fang exchanged all his merit points for all kinds of pills, spirit items, and other resources. Let's take a look at the trading center below. Su Fang suppressed his aura to the level of a god emperor and arrived at the trading center below the Mountain of Merit. It had been a long time since Su Fang came to such a place. He did not expect to find any treasures, but he wanted to use this opportunity to adjust his state of mind. Failing to break through to the Master God realm was a huge blow to his Tao heart. It was good for him to relax and stabilize his Tao heart. Su Fang strolled around the trading center at the foot of the mountain. The lively and bustling scene made him feel as if he had entered a market in the mortal world. It was naturally difficult to find real treasures in such a place. Su Fang did not plan to search for treasures. He wanted to relax completely and walk around. He looked at the cultivators bargaining and occasionally saw the big goblin in human form. It was quite a lively scene, but he was happy and content. When he passed by a stall on the street, Su Fang suddenly raised his eyebrows and stopped in his tracks. Those who set up stalls on the street were usually deities who were in dire straits. Naturally, they would not have any real treasures. There were many scams. What caught Su Fang's attention was the old man who set up the stall. The old man's face was sallow and he looked like he had not recovered from a serious illness. However, there was a sharp and cold light hidden in his deep eyes. He was definitely not a kind person. This person's cultivation was not ordinary. He was at the third heaven of godly venerable realm. He would be an expert in any divine realm in the myriad heavens. It was unexpected that he had fallen to the point of setting up a stall on the street. Su Fang did not recognize this person. However, this old man's aura was not unfamiliar. It was very similar to the Ji people that Su Fang had eliminated. It was obvious that this person was from the Ji people. The Ji people were an ancient divine race from the myriad heavens. They had many clansmen. Furthermore, the ones that Su Fang had eliminated were only a portion of them who had migrated to the Yuan Tiangong. There were still a large number of Ji people who had remained in the heavenly sound divine realm. It was not strange for one or two of them to escape. Although this old man from the Ji people had extraordinary strength, he naturally did not dare to reveal his identity with Su Fang's current status in the myriad heavens. He was like a mouse that could not be exposed to the light. Su Fang did not intend to kill him. With his current strength, why would he care about a small fry from the Ji people? Just as he was about to leave, when the old man from the Ji people saw that he finally had a customer, he immediately perked up and promoted his treasures to Su Fang. My treasures are all from the ancient divine race. Why don't you take a closer look? Su Fang's perfect vision swept across the stall and saw 7 or 8 divine artifacts. The highest was at the peak of the high grade. At this time, he didn't even care about ordinary king-grade magic treasures, so why would he care about such trash? Seeing Su Fang's expression, the old man from the Ji people was greatly disappointed. However, he did not give up and picked up a scroll painting. Take a closer look. This treasure is called the Ocean Observation Painting. It is an extremely rare time-type artifact. Although it is only supreme grade, it is comparable to an ordinary peak supreme grade divine artifact. It is even comparable to a royal grade divine artifact. Time-type artifact? Su Fang was finally a little interested, but his interest was not very big. In the past, he had Shu Yunkong's time cave abode. In the Sanctum of Sages, he also had a space-time dimension like the Hall of Spring and Autumn. Now, he could also use the space-time divine ability to create formations. Therefore, time-type artifacts were not very attractive to him. After all, no matter how powerful a time-type artifact was, although it could greatly shorten the cultivation time, its drawbacks were obvious. Cultivating in the space-time dimension of a time-type artifact would cause a backlash due to the difference in time between the real world and the time in the real world. It would also cause one's cultivation foundation to be unstable. Seeing this, the old man from the Ji people opened the scroll painting halfway and handed it to Su Fang. Su Fang grabbed the scroll, and a familiar aura of the great Tao of time rushed to his face. However, Su Fang could sense that the aura emitted by the scroll painting was clearly dispirited and disorderly. Although it was indeed a supreme-grade artifact, it was a consumable artifact. It would be useless after a few more uses. Wang. The purple aura Dharma spirit in Su Fang's body suddenly emitted a violent commotion. The primordial spirit, Zi, seemed to be losing control. Su Fang was shocked. He secretly transmitted his thoughts to Zi. Zi, this scroll painting, could it be a powerful artifact? To be able to cause the purple aura Dharma spirit to emit such a huge commotion, it was definitely not an ordinary artifact. At the very least, it had to be a half-destinable artifact. Yes, master. This scroll painting is indeed a powerful artifact. However, it has been concealed by an extremely clever disguise. If master had not come into contact with the artifact, Az would not have been able to sense the creation aura contained within the artifact. Su Fang was shocked. Creation aura? Are you saying that this consumable magic treasure of supreme grade is actually a divine weapon of creation? There is no doubt about it. Furthermore, it is not a half-destinable artifact that an artifact refiner can forge. It is a destinable artifact that was born from the heavens and earth. Furthermore, it is a time-type destinable artifact. Su Fang's heart was in turmoil. Although a half-destinable artifact was extremely rare, it was not rare in the hands of the true experts in the universe. However, there were very few destinable artifacts that were born from the heavens and earth. Only a few ancient divine clans with ancient inheritances possessed a destinable artifact. Even some supreme sovereigns did not necessarily possess such a divine artifact. Although Su Fang was extremely excited in his heart, he still looked indifferent on the surface. What good stuff can a street stall have? The old man from the G people was anxious. You big goblin, you really have poor eyesight. Do you know where it came from? This artifact came from the Shu clan. Su Fang raised his eyebrows. The Shu clan? Which Shu clan? Speaking of the Shu clan, you definitely don't know them. However, you should at least know the number one genius of the human race, Su Fang, right? Su Fang's master was the former leader of the Shu clan. Now you should know how powerful the Shu clan is. Su Fang was at a loss for words. The old man from the G people struck while the iron was hot. He lowered his voice and said, "To tell you the truth, this is the Shu clan's most treasured artifact. It was snatched away by the G people back then. After the G people were annihilated, the G people's expert from the heavenly sound divine world escaped with the artifact. In the end, he was killed by me and the artifact fell into my hand. If not for the fact that I am in a tight financial situation, why would I be willing to sell it?" So that's how it is, Su Fang revealed a shocked expression. In fact, he was laughing coldly in his heart. The artifact should have come from the Shu clan. As for killing the G people's expert to obtain the artifact, it was naturally impossible. Chapter 2405. The old man from the G people described the scroll to the heavens, but Su Fang did not react for a long time. In fact, Su Fang was secretly communicating with Shu Wanjin. Shu Wanjin had successfully become a chief god and was stabilizing her status as a lower-ranked chief god. She had the strength and the time to communicate with Su Fang. "Senior sister, does the Shu clan have a treasure called the Sea-Observing Scroll?" Su Fang was just about to inquire about the origins of the scroll painting. If Shu Yunkong was by her side, it would be easier. She could just ask him directly. Unfortunately, Shu Yunkong was in the Saint Temple in the Yuan Tiangong. Sea-Observing Scroll? Shu Wanjin was stunned. After thinking for a moment, she said, "Our clan does have such a treasure. It was left behind by our ancestors. It's actually a world created by the great Tao of time. There's an ocean formed by the concept of time in it. That's how it got its name." Then, she said in surprise, "The Sea-Observing Scroll is a supreme-grade divine artifact. Every time it's used, it will lose a lot of power. It will be used up sooner or later. With your current strength, you won't even care about a half-created divine artifact. You shouldn't be interested in a treasure of this quality, right?" Senior sister, I'm afraid you've misjudged. That scroll is not a supreme-grade divine artifact, but a creation divine artifact." Shu Wanjin's voice was filled with shock. "A creation divine artifact? Our clan has a creation divine artifact. How is that possible?" Su Fang told Shu Wanjin about her encounter with the old man from the G people and her sale of the Sea-Observing Scroll. "I see." Shu Wanjin was enlightened. "It seems like our ancestors got this creation divine artifact and were worried that it would bring disaster to the future generations, so they deliberately disguised it as a supreme-grade divine artifact. Or maybe our ancestors got the sea-observing scroll but didn't know it was a creation divine artifact. They passed it down and eventually it fell into the hands of the Ji people. Su Feng smiled. Fortunately, you met me. Since it's your ancestral treasure, I naturally have to take it and return it to the Shu clan. Since you've obtained it, it's your luck. You should keep it for yourself. If you don't want the treasures in your hands, it will instead damage your luck. Besides, such a heavenly treasure can only display its value in your hand. Su Feng thought about it carefully. Being able to encounter this divine weapon of creation was a spur-of-the-moment decision to come to this trading place. It was because of the supreme fate brought to him by the purple Chi Dharma spirit. If he rejected it, it would indeed be detrimental to his fate. Even though he didn't know the abilities of the scroll painting, it was still a divine creation artifact. Su Feng was naturally overjoyed. Then, junior brother, I won't stand on ceremony. With a divine creation artifact in my hands, hee. If that Ji people's first ancestor knew that a divine creation artifact had been in the hands of the Ji people for so many years without him knowing about it, and that his clansmen had returned it to me in the end, he would probably be so angry that he would die again. The Ji people have been destroyed by you. I can't take revenge with my own hands. What a pity! Shu Wanjin's voice carried a faint trace of regret as she walked further and further away. After ending his conversation with Shu Wanjin, Su Feng nonchalantly looked at the old man from the Ji people. How many merit points do I need? At the Mountain of Merit, most transactions were done using merit points. There were also barters. It was different from the Yuan Tiangong. In the Sky Beacon God world, merit points that had been verified by the Merit Monument could be traded privately. Thus, merit points were even more useful than the divine jade of the Tong Bao Trade Union. Su Feng was in a good mood. He didn't want to make things difficult for the old man from the Ji people. Thus, he decided to use his merit points to get the scroll. I have my eyes on a spiritual item in the Hall of Merit. I need 500,000 merit points. Sir, you can just give me this amount. The old man from the Ji people was instantly overjoyed. His tone towards Su Feng became much more polite. He no longer addressed himself as this seat. After all, in the eyes of cultivators, the big goblin was just a cultivation material or a shackled slave. Furthermore, Su Feng's current aura was only equivalent to the peak of the God-Emperor realm. If it wasn't for the merit points, why would the old man from the Ji people care about him? QL 11-inch 500,000 merit points? Su Feng raised his eyebrows. This price was enough to buy a peak supreme grade artifact. This old man from the Ji people was indeed a little greedy. However, to Su Feng, 500,000 merit points was just a drop in the ocean. He didn't want to bargain and immediately took out his waist token to exchange his merit point. Who knew, just as he was about to take out his waist token, he suddenly remembered that he had exchanged all his merit points for various resources on the Mountain of Merit. At this moment, he didn't even have a single merit point left in his waist token. How could he take out 500,000 merit points? Su Feng touched the tip of his nose. Well, I don't have any merit points right now. Why don't? Before Su Feng could finish his sentence, the old man from the Ji family's face darkened. The Ji clan's old man's expression immediately turned gloomy. His deep eyes flashed with an ominous glint. You're just a little demon, could it be that you're toying with me? If you don't have any merit points, why are you talking so much nonsense? A young man in a silver robe who was passing by the street suddenly stopped and said, "This artifact, I want it." This young man had an extraordinary temperament. His silver robe exuded a shocking aura of treasure. His cultivation level was quite high as he had reached the first heaven of the ultimate God realm. There were more than a dozen Dao integration realm followers following behind him. He was obviously a genius from a powerful faction with an extraordinary background. One of the followers stretched out his hand and released a divine aura. The scroll artifact was about to fly away. Su Fang reached out and grabbed the scroll. He directly kept it in his body and said indifferently, "Who said I don't want this artifact?" After that, he took out a storage ring and flew it to the old man from the G people. The value of the divine stones in this storage ring is equivalent to 600,000 merit point. It should be enough to exchange for this scroll artifact, right? The old man from the G people looked into the storage ring with his consciousness. Just like what Su Fang said, the divine stones inside were definitely worth more than 600,000 merit points. He was surprised and happy. He nodded repeatedly. "Since you can take out so many divine stones, my artifact will naturally belong to you. Didn't you hear what I said?" The young man in the silver robe shouted coldly. His followers immediately surrounded Su Fang and the old man from the G people. Su Fang smiled casually. He really didn't care about this group of small fries. He wasn't even interested in making a move. The young man in the silver robe took out a waste token. It was a gold-ranked waste token. In the Sky Beacon Divine World, having a gold-ranked waste token not only meant that one had the powerful strength to kill a large number of resurrected experts, but also had a shocking identity. Moreover, this young man was so young. His cultivation was only at the first heaven of the ultimate god realm, but he had a gold-ranked waste token. He was indeed extraordinary. Seeing the old man from the G people trembling, the young man in the silver robe revealed a proud expression. It was obvious that he enjoyed this scene. He said majestically, "I won't bully you. I'll give you 1,000,000 merit points. That scroll artifact will belong to me." "Thank you, young master." The old man from the G people was wild with joy. Then, he shouted coldly at Su Fang. "I said that this artifact can only be exchanged with merit point. I won't accept your divine stones. Hurry up and give me the artifact." After that, he threw the storage ring to Su Fang. Su Fang raised his eyebrows. Demonic fire surged in his eyes. The young man said domineeringly to Su Fang, "Although this young master has never done anything like bullying others, this young master likes to bully demons the most. This is especially true for demon monkeys like you. This young master will bully every one of them I see." Then, he shouted loudly, "Where are the enforcers?" Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Immediately, 7 to 8 enforcers in black robes flew over on their flying sword. The young man handed the waste token to the leader of the enforcers and said majestically, "This big goblin snatched my artifact. Take it back for me. Then shackle your primordial spirit and send it to my cave abode." "Young master is..." The leader of the enforcers swept the waste token with his primordial spirit. Instantly the divine light changed. Tian-yi. Young master is great elder Zhong Yinji's last disciple? Tian-yi. Then, he shouted at Su Fang. "You demon monkey, how dare you snatch my artifact? Young master's artifact. You really don't know what's good for you. Come with me." It turned out that this young man was Zhong Yinji's disciple. No wonder he was so domineering. No wonder he hated the big goblin so much. Especially the demon monkey. Zhong Yinji suffered a great loss in the hands of Su Fang. It would be strange if his disciple didn't hate the demon monkey. The corners of Su Fang's mouth curled up slightly. "You didn't do any investigation before convicting me so hastily?" The leader of the enforcers sneered. "Young master? How can young master's words be wrong? Come with me obediently so that you won't suffer any physical pain." Su Fang shook his head helplessly. It seemed that the artifact wasn't so easy to get. Just as he was about to take out the waste token to show his identity, he suddenly smiled and stopped his actions. A divine light flashed in the sky. Then, an illusory figure appeared from the void. It turned out to be an old man in a purple-gold robe. His aura was illusory. The moment he appeared, he gave off a shocking pressure. It was as if they were facing a vast galaxy or a world. This old man was a peerless master god whose cultivation had reached the peak of the master god realm. Moreover, judging from his attire, he was the great elder of the human clan's conference hall in the sky beacon divine realm. Tian-E greets Senior Hua. How did such a small matter disturb you? Tian-E was shocked and stunned. He hurriedly went forward to greet the old man. The enforcers and the old man of the G people? Tian-Yi's followers and the onlookers all knelt down. In an instant, the street was filled with people kneeling down. Only Tian-E and Su Fang were standing. Tian-E? Where was the old man? Tian-E curled his body. He looked familiar, but he couldn't quite remember. Only then did Tian-E realize that he had thought too highly of himself. He revealed an awkward expression. However, being able to speak with the great elder was also something that gave him a lot of face. Tian-E smiled and said respectfully, "This junior is the last disciple of great elder Zhong Yinji. Last time, when great elder Hua was discussing the Tao with my master, this junior served at the side." Great elder Hua nodded slightly. "So, you are great elder Zhong Yinji's disciple?" Tian-E wanted to continue speaking, but the old man looked at Su Fang. It was as if he had changed into a different person. He cupped his fists and said politely, "The 3 sovereigns have already arrived at the conference hall. Among the 10 great elders, only Lord Yuanli is left. I didn't expect that Lord would be in the city of trade. If I didn't sense Lord's token, I would have thought that Lord was delayed by something." Yuanli? The big goblin Yuanli who is ranked 3rd on the merit roll? Chapter 2406. This is the big goblin of the divine emperor realm. It's actually Yuanli? Boom? Tian-Yi's mind seemed to have been struck by a sudden clap of thunder. His divine aperture was almost shattered. The old G people and the enforcers who were kneeling on the ground were all trembling. The old G people's body went soft and directly collapsed on the ground. When the gods who were watching the show heard the name, Big Goblin Yuanli, they felt as if a bone-chilling wind had swept past them. Instantly, they felt as if they had been frozen. Their entire body was emitting a chill from the inside out. Who was the big goblin Yuanli? He was a ruthless character who had easily killed the top 10 experts of the lifeless prairie, ranked 3rd on the merit list, and was one of the top 10 leaders of the human clan's conference hall. He even dared to beat up the great elder of the punishment hall. Then? Tian-E is in big trouble. That old guy who sold the magic treasure and the enforcers of the city of trade are also in big trouble. They actually dared to bully the big goblin Yuanli. That Yuanli must be extremely bored. He actually pretended to be a divine emperor realm small demon. Tian-E has kicked an iron plate this time. Although the crowd's whispers were very low, they could not escape Su Fang's perfect hearing. Su Fang could not help but laugh. With his current strength and status, how could he lower himself to the same level as these low-level existences? Great Elder Hua's white eyebrows furrowed. He asked with a frown, "Great Elder Yuanli, did these ignorant juniors offend you?" Su Fang smiled coldly and embarrassedly. "They accidentally bought a magic treasure and caused a little trouble. This one?" Young Master Tian-E said that he wanted to bully demons with his power. The cultivator who sold the magic treasure wanted to take back the magic treasure he sold to me. As for these enforcers, they are here to enforce the law impartially. Great Elder Hua's white eyebrows immediately knitted together. Su Fang then smiled faintly. "Great Elder Hua, it's good that you're here. I'll leave this matter to you. I won't keep the venerable emperors waiting." After saying that, a violent demonic aura surged out of his body. The demon chi was filled with an aura of slaughter and evil. It formed a pressure that was even more terrifying than Grand Elder Hua, a peak over God. Tian-E staggered as if his soul had been sucked out. He knelt down on the ground. The old G people and the 7 or 8 law enforcers suddenly trembled and almost fainted. Who would have thought that Su Fang would take out the Great Elder's Taoist robe, wrap it around his body, and then fly away? Such a thing actually happened? After First Elder Hua learned about the matter, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The Great Elder who ranked third in the meeting hall, the infamous big goblin Yuan Li, was bullied by an ant in the hierarch realm. It would be a huge joke if the news got out. Go to the punishment hall and accept your punishment. Tell the punishment hall that if they dare to show favoritism, Yuan Li's Great Elder will come knocking on their door again. Even Lord Di Zun won't be able to save them. First Elder Hua snorted inexplicably. His figure turned into nothingness and disappeared from the street, leaving behind Tian-Yi, who was scared half to death. Tian-Yi, the old Ji people, and the law enforcers. Under the guidance of Grand Elder's waste token, Su Fang passed through layers of barriers and arrived at the deepest part of the Sky Beacon God world. Then, he passed through a powerful barrier and was sent to an extraterritorial space by a divine power that distorted space. This extraterritorial space was created by the supreme existence of the imperial people. There was only one magnificent palace in this space. It was the human clan's meeting hall, the center of power of the Sky Beacon God world. Su Fang flew and landed in front of the palace. First Elder Hua followed closely behind and entered the hall side by side. He looked over. The hall was very spacious and there were many thrones floating in the air. There were 3 thrones floating side by side on the main seat. Xiao Wanting sat in the middle. On his left was a middle-aged man who exuded an icy aura. He was the Moon Sovereign. On Xiao Wanting's right was a scholarly middle-aged man in a python robe. This person was the other emperor expert in the Sky Beacon God world, Emperor Hao Yuan. The 3 emperors of the Sky Beacon God world had all appeared. Peerless experts sat on the thrones on both sides of the hall. Only Su Fang and First Elder Hua were missing among the 10 giants of the Sky Beacon God world. Su Fang landed on the second empty seat on the left and sat down cross-legged. The Moon Sovereign said coldly, "Yuan Li, you are quite arrogant. You made the 3 emperors and the other grand elders wait for you." Emperor Hao Yuan smiled faintly. "Moon Sovereign, the monster race doesn't know etiquette. Don't lower yourself to Yuan Li's level." Zhong Yinji, who was sitting on the throne opposite Su Fang, sneered, "Grand Elder, Yuan Li has been busy subduing great demons in the Demon Mountain recently. Just now, he was busy bullying low-level human cultivators. How could he have the time to pay attention to the 3 venerable sovereigns and the Grand Elders sitting here?" With the strength of these peerless experts, nothing that happened in the trade city could escape their senses. Zhong Yinji had instigated Su Fang to oppose the 3 emperors and the other giants. His intentions were sinister. Su Fang smiled sinisterly but didn't say anything. Zhong Yinji was definitely going to die. The supreme existences of the imperial people obviously had other intentions for keeping him alive. Why would Su Fang argue with someone who was about to die? "Since everyone is here, let's start the discussion," Xiao Wanting said majestically. As soon as his voice fell, a powerful divine aura enveloped the entire hall, completely isolating it from the outside world. The hall became an independent world. Since Xiao Wanting was so cautious, it was obvious that this discussion was very important. At this time, there have been earth-shaking changes on the other side of the sky screen. I'll talk about the situation there first. Xiao Wanting's words made everyone sit up straight and still. Su Fang was about to go to the battlefield of the Two Realms River, so he pricked up his ears and stared at Xiao Wanting intently. The situation on the other side of the Two Realms River is getting more and more serious. The resurrected experts are no longer the same as before. They have created a great way of evil that is completely different from the way of heaven, from the evil power that fills the world. They have become more and more powerful. Not only have they mastered powerful magic skills, but they also gradually have divine artifacts that only the resurrected experts can use. Although Su Fang had known about this for a long time, he was still shocked by the news brought by Xiao Wanting. The other emperors and giants obviously knew about this in advance. At this time, the divine aura around them changed instantly. QL11 Su Fang looked at Zhong Yinji and found that he was also shocked and in disbelief. He couldn't help but sneer in his heart. That's not all. Xiao Wanting continued from Su Su. The resurrected experts are no longer evil monsters controlled by evil thoughts, but living beings with intelligence and cunning. At this time, the resurrected experts have quickly become a new race in all the world. They call themselves the Defiance, and their overall strength surpasses the demon race and the Yao race. Xiao Wanting's words made Su Fang's heart tremble once more. He didn't expect the resurrected experts to undergo such shocking changes during the period when he was breaking through to become a Lord God. The human cultivators left on the other side of the Two Realms River have either been devoured by the Defiance and the evil forces from the Dark World, or they have surrendered to the Defiance and been modified and brainwashed by the Defiance evil magic skills. They have become puppets controlled by the Defiant. Moreover, the Defiants have formed an alliance with the demon race, some Yao race, Azura, and other forces from the Dark World. They call themselves the Defiance Alliance. At this time, the Defiance Alliance's overall strength has far surpassed the human race. Only the emperors are far inferior to the human race. Xiao Wanting's words caused the atmosphere in the palace to become extremely oppressive. I've gathered all of you here today to announce something important. According to reliable sources, the Defiance Alliance will cross the Two Realms River in the next few years and attack the Sky Curtain with all their strength in an attempt to break the Sky Curtain and crush the human race's last line of defense. For this reason, the supreme existence of the imperial people and the upper echelons of the Yuan Tiangong have decided to gather the human race and join forces with the Yao race to launch a fierce counterattack against the Defiance. Xiao Wanting's voice was thunderous as it reverberated through the palace. It was a shocking sight. Su Fang thought, Xiao Wanting clearly has other plans for announcing this in front of Zhong Yinji. He wants to beat them at their own game and deal a heavy blow to the Defiance Alliance. This has nothing to do with me, so I won't participate in it. With that thought, Su Fang closed his eyes and acted as if it had nothing to do with him. The Moon Sovereign glanced at Su Fang coldly and snorted. Zhong Yinji sneered. This concerns the survival of the human race. As a Yao race, shouldn't Yuan Li leave? Su Fang suddenly opened his eyes. It's indeed inappropriate for me to stay here. I'll take my leave now. With that, Su Fang was really about to leave the meeting hall, which shocked the three sovereigns and the other big shots. Yuan Li, wait, Xiao Wanting suddenly said. There's something important that I need you to stay and discuss with me. Su Fang said arrogantly, what's the matter? This is also a very important matter. As Xiao Wanting spoke, a ray of divine light rolled out from his palm and a cultivator appeared in the center of the palace. This cultivator didn't look much different from a human cultivator. His life force was extremely majestic, far surpassing that of an ordinary Dao integration cultivator. However, there was a faint aura of death on his body. He was obviously a resurrected cultivator whose cultivation level was almost at the Dao integration stage. This person's primordial spirit and divine palace were shackled by Xiao Wanting, so he couldn't move at all. However, he was still roaring non-human. No one understood what Xiao Wanting meant. They all looked at Xiao Wanting. Xiao Wanting said, this resurrected cultivator should be called a Dao Defiant now. Not only can he control the aura of death to use powerful divine abilities, but his divine body also has an amazing recovery ability. As long as he's in a place with dense aura of death, he's almost immortal. Great Elder Hua, attack this Dao Defiant with all your might. Immortal? Great Elder Hua looked disdainful and waved his hand to summon a flying sword. With a flash of sword light, the Dao Defiant's head was turned into nothingness by the terrifying sword chi. Then, his divine body started to crumble rapidly. Everyone, take a look again. Xiao Wanting reached out and grabbed. A vast aura of death surged from heaven and earth and shrouded the place where the Tao Defiant died. Chapter 2407. They really can't die. It's not that they can't die, but they've become even more difficult to kill. However, such astonishing recovery ability surpasses cultivators of the same realm by 10 times. It can be said to be heaven-defying and completely goes against the rules of the heavenly Tao. Gods possessed astonishing recovery abilities, and some of them could even be revived with just a drop of blood or a strand of hair. However, no matter how powerful a god's recovery ability was, it was impossible for it to reach the level of the Tao Defiant. Not to mention gods, even the big goblin and devil race, whose vitality far surpassed gods, would find it difficult to reach such height. Everyone in the hall revealed surprised expressions. A bolt of lightning flashed from Xiao Wanting's eyes, and then a net of lightning instantly surged out around the Tao Defiant and shackled him within. Xiao Wanting said in a low voice, "Now you've seen how powerful these Tao Defiants are, right?" Zhong Yinji asked with surprise, "Why would the resurrected experts undergo such changes in just a few thousand years? It wasn't like this in the past." Su Fang glanced at Zhong Yinji and snorted inexplicably. Zhong Yinji's disguise is really on point. It can be said to be watertight, Xiao Wanting said. It's precisely because the river of the heavenly Tao was polluted and the order of the heavenly Tao was in chaos. Although Holy Sun Su Fang resolved it and avoided the calamity of destruction, the heavenly Tao was further contaminated by the energy of the evil god, and the resurrected experts underwent such changes. Zhong Yinji nodded and said, "So that's how it is." Emperor Hao Yuan sighed and said, "Perhaps in another 10 million years, those resurrected experts will become even more powerful, and the rulers of the universe will no longer be human cultivators but those Tao Defiants." Everyone fell into silence, and the atmosphere in the hall became extremely oppressive. Unexpectedly, Xiao Wanting suddenly smiled and said, "There's always a way out. Not long ago, we found a way to suppress the Tao Defiant." "There's such a thing?" Everyone's spirits were lifted. Xiao Wanting stroked his beard and nodded. "Let's invite the number 1 artifact refiner in the universe, Grandmaster Mo Tiangong, to explain it to everyone." Su Fang was stunned. "Senior Mo Tiangong? When did he come to the Sky Beacon God world?" One of the magnates asked. "Isn't the number 1 artifact forging Grandmaster Master Heavenly Fire?" Although Mo Tiangong's skill in forging artifacts is extraordinary, it hasn't been long since he became an overgod. There's a huge gap between him and Master Tianhua. How did he become the greatest artifact forging master? Xiao Wanting sneered. Skyfire has already become the number 1 artifact forging Grandmaster of the Tao Defiance Alliance, so he naturally isn't qualified to continue being the number 1 artifact forging Grandmaster of the human race. He isn't the only one who's willing to become a puppet of the Tao Defiance. There are many human cultivators who are willing to defy the Tao and become puppets as well. Except for Su Fang and the other 2 Emperor Realm Masters, who obviously knew about this matter and remained unmoved, everyone else was shocked. Su Fang noticed a trace of fear in Zhong Yinji's eyes and sneered in his heart. From the depths of the formation behind the palace, a scholarly middle-aged man slowly walked out. It was Mo Tiangong. "Greetings to the 3 sovereigns and the great elders." Mo Tiangong bowed to Xiao Wanting, the Guanghan Emperor, and the Haoyuan Emperor. He cupped his fists to the other magnates. Some of the magnates frowned secretly. Mo Tiangong was only a lower-rank lord. Apart from the big goblin Yuanli that Su Fang had transformed into, the weakest of the magnates present was an upper-rank lord. However, he merely cupped his fists in greeting, which made the magnates rather displeased. They also doubted his ability as the number 1 artifact forging Grandmaster. Xiao Wanting nodded towards Mo Tiangong and politely said with a smile, "Grandmaster Mo, please demonstrate for everyone." "Yes." Mo Tiangong flipped his right hand, and a flying sword appeared in his palm. After he activated it, a sword ray with a chilling aura shot out. This flying sword was only high grade, far inferior to the king-grade flying sword that Great Elder Hua had used earlier. Moreover, Mo Tiangong's ability was far inferior to Great Elder Hua's, so the might of the flying sword he activated was naturally far inferior as well. However, this flying sword contained a strange dark and icy might. When everyone sensed the flying sword's aura, they immediately felt as if their primordial spirits were no longer under their control and were about to fall into the endless cycle of reincarnation. A gleam of light flashed through Su Fang's deep eyes, and he revealed a look of surprise. The aura contained within the flying sword was extremely similar to the 9 underworlds' energy that Mystery had used. However, the 9 underworlds' energy that Mystery had used was like a vast ocean, while the energy contained within the flying sword was not even comparable to a small stream. QL11 The sword ray coiled around the Defiant's neck. As the Defiant was shackled, he could not resist at all. His head was chopped off by the sword ray and rolled to the ground. A shrill cry of agony rang out from his mouth. Strange black smoke rose from his orifices and vanished into nothingness. After that, there was no more movement. The Defiant's head had been separated from his body, and the scene of him coming back to life didn't occur again. Everyone was shocked and astounded, and their attention was completely focused on Mo Tiangong's flying sword. Emperor Hao Yuan was extremely surprised. Could it be that your flying sword has been fused with the Nether River's nether sand? Nether sand? Everyone exchanged glances. They didn't understand, but they felt that it was amazing. Mo Tiangong cupped his fists and said, "Lord Emperor, you're truly perceptive. My flying sword has been fused with nether sand, and that's why it possesses such a lethal ability against resurrected experts." Emperor Guanghan's eyes shone brightly. Why is a treasure that has been fused with nether sand able to kill Dao Defiance with ease? Mo Tiangong answered, "It's all thanks to Quansheng Wuji. He cultivates in the grand Dao of life, so he's extremely curious about the Dao Defiance." Thus, he finally noticed some clues after some pondering. Most of the resurrected experts that appeared during the early stages of the world's upheaval were still corpses that hadn't been destroyed. Their incomplete souls and consciousnesses remained within them, and they relied on the evil intent contained within the evil yang energy to come back to life. However, the resurrected experts in the later stages weren't like that. The main reason was that they were extremely powerful when they were alive, so powerful that they had fused with the heavenly Tao. Moreover, for some unknown reason, the cycle of the heavenly Tao had become chaotic after the ancient times. Thus, even if these resurrected experts had perished, their imprints would still exist within the heavenly Tao. The upheaval of the world caused their remnant consciousnesses within the heavenly Tao to fuse with their undestroyed bodies, and that was how they came back to life. No matter which reason it was, the resurrected experts were unable to fall into the cycle of reincarnation, and that was why they relied on the evil energy to come back to life. Quansheng Wuji deduced that as long as we severed the connection between these resurrected experts and the evil god, and made them fall back into the cycle of reincarnation, we would be able to easily kill them. Thus, I thought of fusing nether sand into my magic treasure. That's because the nether sand contains the essence of the Jiryo in the past. It contains the power of the heavenly Tao that can make souls fall into the cycle of reincarnation. The remnant souls of the Defiance would rapidly fall into the cycle of reincarnation when they were in the power of the heavenly Tao. Falling into the cycle of reincarnation would mean completely vanishing from the world. Once their connection with the evil god's power is severed, they would naturally be very easy to kill. Everyone came to a realization after Mo Tiangong's explanation. The Moon Emperor praised, "Mo Tiangong, you've done a great service to the human race. You really are worthy of being called the greatest artifact refining master." The other giants also nodded one after another, looking at Mo Tiangong with eyes full of respect. The dissatisfaction in their hearts just now disappeared in an instant. Xiao Wanting said, I never thought that you'd have such astounding ability to refine artifacts in just 300,000 years since you became an over-god. Even a heaven-defying cultivator like Tianhua was nowhere near as good as you back then. Mo Tiangong said solemnly, It's all thanks to the guidance of Su Fang's holy son that I'm able to advance by leaps and bounds on the great Tao of artifact refining. The Moon Emperor nodded. Although Su Fang is arrogant and domineering, he truly deserves the title of the greatest genius in Yuan Tiangong. Su Fang touched the tip of his nose, feeling helpless. It seemed that the emperors didn't have a good impression of him. Hao Yuan Emperor continued to ask, if all the cultivators' magic treasures are fused with the nether sand, wouldn't they have the upper hand when fighting with the Defiance? Mo Tiangong smiled bitterly. You could say that. However, the nether sand is only found in the legendary Geo. In all the worlds, only a few ancient divine clans have a small amount of nether sand. How can all the cultivators' magic treasures be fused with the nether sand? The Moon Emperor sighed. I don't know what happened back then. The Geo disappeared and reincarnation became chaotic. Now, the only way to find the nether sand is to enter the dark world and find the broken Geo. Unfortunately, most of the space-time nodes that lead to the dark world are on the other side of the canopy of heaven. Xiao Wanting said in a deep voice, This is another important matter that I've gathered all the great elders to discuss. Try to send experts to sneak into the dark world to find the legendary Geo and collect the nether sand. Because this is a secret, we can't let the Defiance Alliance know about it. Therefore, it's best if someone among the experts here can step forward bravely. The 10 great elders all fell silent. Not to mention that the other side of the canopy of heaven had become the world of the Defiance and various evil forces. Even the Geo, which had disappeared a long time ago, also contained great danger. Entering the Geo to collect the nether sand was tantamount to death. Xiao Wanting stared at Su Fang and said majestically, Great Elder Yuanli, I've discussed with the other venerable sovereigns and decided to send you to the Geo to collect the nether sand. Are you willing? When Xiao Wanting said that he needed to enter the Geo to collect the nether sand, Su Fang knew that he would make such a decision. Now, as he had expected, he couldn't help but frown. He was full of doubts. The other venerable sovereigns didn't know his true identity, but the Supreme Imperial People definitely knew. It was impossible that the Supreme Imperial People didn't know about his entering the Geo. Why would they send him to his death? Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The other great elders all looked at Su Fang. Some of them were surprised, while others were gloating. Except for Su Fang, the 10 great elders in the conference hall were all human cultivators. If they didn't send him, the big goblin, to such a dangerous task, who else could they send? Chapter 2408. All the big goblin in the demon mountain of the sky beacon divine world will be under my command? Su Fang's heart palpitated. On the demon mountain, there were a total of 100,000 big goblin, and they were all elites from the demon clan. Especially that Qilin divine beast. Was it a heavenly beast? Oracle? Huan go 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 go? Robber? Tranquil and empty fold. If all of them were under his command, the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda would be almost complete. At that time, Su Fang's overall strength would definitely skyrocket. 100,000 big goblin in the demon mountain, heavenly beast? Competing with each other? See? Kind? Osak? Dish? Craving? Slaying emperor? Wanjia Niagu Fern. That Qilin divine beast even issued a challenge, which showed how unruly the big goblin was. If the venerable emperor appeared, he could easily take all the big goblin in the demon mountain under his command. After thinking for a long time, Su Fang suddenly asked, Venerable Emperor, where is the 9 serenities? After all, the 9 serenities has disappeared for a long time. If I don't even have a clue, even if I enter the dark world, I will return empty-handed. Su Fang was extremely clearly aware of the reason the ninth hell had vanished. The so-called 9 serenities should be the 10 serenities lands. It was because Netherworld was suppressed by a supreme heavenly venerable, and then the essence of the 9 serenities was extracted to refine the origin sacred mirror, which led to the disappearance of the 9 serenities and the chaos of the heavenly Tao. After all, the 9 serenities was a legendary existence. Su Fang didn't have a long lifespan, so it was impossible for him to know where the 9 serenities was. Netherworld had never told him. Xiao Wanting nodded and said, "Although the 9th serenity has disappeared for a long time, it is not without traces. When the time comes, I will naturally give you the spacetime node to enter the Dark World, as well as the coordinates of the 9th serenity. However, no one knows what remains of the 9 serenities and what dangers there will be." Su Fang nodded. "I see." After a moment of silence, he asked, "Senior Emperor, may I ask if Senior Emperor has heard of a gem called the 9 Nether Embryo Stone?" 9 Nether Embryo Stone. It was a gem condensed from the essence of the 9 underworlds. Netherworld's doppelganger needed the 9 underworlds' embryo stone to display its powerful strength. Otherwise, it would lose its effect after 2 more uses. Su Fang had always wanted to find the 9 Nether Fetus Stone. Unfortunately, after so many years, he had not been able to find any clues about the 9 Nether Fetus Stone. Since Xiao Wanting knew the planar coordinates of the 9 serenities, he should also know about the 9 Nether Embryo Stone. 9 Nether Embryo Stone? The Emperor of Moon Palace raised his eyebrows and asked in surprise. Su Fang perked up and asked, "Does the Moon Emperor know about the 9 Nether Fetus Stone?" The 9 Nether Fetus Stone is an item of extreme Yin in the world. I also cultivate a great Tao of the Yin element. Therefore, I have heard of the 9 Nether Fetus Stone. It is said that the 9 Nether Fetus Stone is the essence of the extreme Yin energy that is nurtured at the bottom of the Nether River by the powerful souls that have entered the cycle of reincarnation. This item can only be found in the Nether River. It is very difficult to find it in the universe. Su Fang did not expect the 9 Nether Fetus Stone to be in the Nether River. He was very surprised. The Emperor of Moon Palace stared at Su Fang. The 9 Nether Fetus Stone is only useful for gods, big goblin, and demons who cultivate the great Tao of extreme Yin. As far as I know, Yuan Li, you have nothing to do with the great Tao of extreme Yin. Why do you want to know about the 9 Nether Fetus Stone? Su Fang said, "I occasionally heard about the 9 Nether Fetus Stone. I found it interesting, so I asked casually." The Emperor of Moon Palace naturally did not believe him. He snorted and did not say anything else. Zhong Yinji recalled that Su Fang had escaped from the Moon Palace. He guessed that Su Fang probably had a supreme ability that could neutralize extreme cold energy. Perhaps it was related to the 9 Nether Fetus Stone. Xiao Wanting asked patiently, "Great Elder Yuan Li, have you thought about it carefully?" Su Fang grinned, revealing his white fangs. "Just now, Emperor Xiao promised that as long as I agree to go to the 9 Netherland, I can ask for anything except for all the big goblin in the Demon Mountain." Xiao Wanting nodded. Just as he was about to agree, the light in his eyes changed slightly. He immediately shut his mouth. Su Fang was very surprised. At this moment, the voice of the Supreme Being of the Imperial People rang in his mind. "Su Fang, you have plundered all the treasures of the Yuan Tiangong. Now you are going to plunder the Sky Beacon God world?" As expected of Su Huang. "Everywhere you go, you are like a swarm of locusts." Su Fang was shocked and stunned. He did not expect the Supreme Being of the Imperial People to speak at this time and ruin his plans. Su Fang secretly transmitted his thoughts. "Is it your idea to ask me to go to the 9 Netherland?" The Supreme Being of the Imperial People said, "That's right." Su Fang was confused. "Why?" "The reason I asked Xiao Wanting to reveal this plan in front of the Tao Defiant puppet is because I want the puppet to inform the Tao Defiant Alliance and lure out Heaven Fire before killing him. Therefore, your mission in the Nine Netherland is to kill Heaven Fire in addition to collecting Nether Sand. If he is not eliminated, he will be a great threat to all the worlds in the universe. Su Fang questioned, that will lure out Heaven Fire, Divine Lord? If we humans can find a large amount of Nether Sand and refine a treasure that can suppress the Tao Defiance, it will undoubtedly be fatal to the Tao Defiant Alliance. Heaven Fire is the master artificer of the Tao Defiant. The Tao Defiance will naturally send him to refine treasures. Are you sure that Heaven Fire will personally appear? I have my own way of sending Heaven Fire into the Nine Netherland. According to what I know, you are in a hurry to kill Heaven Fire, Divine Lord, and take his violet Chi Law spirit. Therefore, your chances of becoming an overgod will increase greatly. Sending you to the Nine Netherland is the best choice. As expected of the Supreme Being of the Imperial People, he knew almost everything about Su Fang. Su Fang asked in confusion, if I accidentally die in the Nine Netherland, won't our plan to enter the exalted celestial mountain be for naught? Do you think I can't recognize the Emperor Venerable Expert you brought out during the Imperial Abyss marriage ceremony? With such a former sovereign avatar of the Ten Netherland by your side, who can do anything to you there? Even if there is an evil lord or a demon saint, they will only be crushed by you. Su Fang felt a chill run down his spine. It seemed like nothing could be hidden from him. I'm about to set up a grand plan in the Skybeacon God world and deal a heavy blow to the Tao Defiance Alliance. The Skybeacon God world will become even more dangerous from now on. That's why I asked you to seize this opportunity to leave the Skybeacon God world and head to the Ninth Hell. I don't believe you won't be tempted by the violet Chi Law spirit. Su Fang had originally planned to enter the Two Realms River. Now, for the Nine Nether Fetus Stone and the violet Chi Law spirit, he had to go to the Nine Netherland. The Supreme Being of the Imperial People had clearly calculated this. Su Fang had originally wanted to take the opportunity to reap some benefits, but he didn't expect the Supreme Being of the Imperial People to ruin his plans. This made him very depressed. He had no choice. Even if there were no benefits, he had to go to the Nine Netherland this time. Su Fang took a deep breath and said righteously, for the sake of the 10,000 realms, I will take the risk and go to the Nine Netherland to collect Nether Sand. Xiao Wanting was both surprised and delighted. Great Elder Yuan Li is a righteous person. I admire you for stepping forward bravely. The others didn't expect Su Fang to agree so readily. They were all surprised. Zhong Yinji had a smile on his face, but coldness surged in his deep eyes. Mo Tiangong cupped his fists at Su Fang and said, I'll have to rely on Great Elder Yuan Li for this trip to the Nine Netherland. Su Fang was shocked. Wait, you're going to the Nine Netherland too? Mo Tiangong nodded and said, It's definitely not easy to obtain Nether Sand. Even if you find the Nether River, you'll need a special method to collect Nether Sand. Then, you'll have to refine it in the Nine Netherland. Otherwise, the Nether Sand will lose most of its reincarnation Tao power and become useless. Thus, I have to go to the Nine Netherland personally. Xiao Wanting continued, moreover, according to Xing Wuji's research, Nether Sand is extremely important to the Tao Defiance. If the Tao Defiance obtain Master Mo's method to refine Nether Sand, then the Tao Defiance overall strength would rise explosively once more. Thus, this trip is very important. That's why I asked Great Elder Yuan Li to accompany Master Mo personally. There's actually such a thing? Su Fang was enlightened. He immediately understood why the supreme existence of the Imperial People was so certain that Heavenly Fire Divine Lord would definitely appear. With such a huge bait, how could Heavenly Fire Divine Lord not go? When the time came, the Tao Defiance Alliance would definitely send an evil dominator expert. It would be a lot more dangerous. However, when they reached the Nine Netherland, Su Fang had Nether's clone. He would naturally be extremely powerful in the Nine Netherland. Even if he encountered an evil dominator, he would still have the ability to kill him. Besides, Su Fang also had the origin sacred mirror. When they reached the Nine Netherland, he would no longer have to worry about his identity being exposed. If that's the case, contact me directly when you set off, Su Fang said indifferently before leaving in embarrassment. Looking at Su Fang's back, Zhong Yinji was all smiles. The other powerhouses looked at Su Fang with sympathy and mockery. There were also some who were filled with hope for Su Fang. Strangely, a sharp glint flashed in the depths of Emperor Hao Yuan's eyes. Xiao Wanting said majestically, "Everyone, next, we should discuss how to deal a heavy blow to the resurrected expert back at Demon Mountain." After Su Fang entered the cave abode, he immediately cast an array formation to seal the cave abode. In the depths of the array formation, Su Fang used the Heaven Supervisor token to create another layer of array formation. Firstly, it was to prevent people from secretly spying on them. Secondly, it was to prevent any accidents from happening. After all the preparations were done, Su Fang took out the scroll painting he had obtained in the City of Trades. He slowly unrolled the scroll painting. On the scroll painting was a painting of a vast ocean. When one looked at it carefully, they could feel the waves of the ocean. A great Tao of Time concept seeped out of the scroll painting. On the surface, it was indeed a Time Dharma treasure. However, the purple cloud Dharma spirit could clearly sense the connate creation chi seeping out of the scroll painting. It proved that the scroll painting was definitely a creation divine artifact. Su Fang looked at it carefully, but couldn't find any clues from the surface. Chapter 2409. In an instant, whoosh, the ocean on the scroll suddenly became turbulent, and a divine power of the great Tao of Time immediately enveloped Su Fang. Su Fang entered an ocean world, surrounded by turbulent seawater, and he was on an island in the middle of the sea. Of course, it was not real seawater, but the convergence of the great Tao of Time. As the seawater rose and fell, it released the power of the passage of time. Su Fang felt that the flow of time was obviously accelerated, and there was about a 50 times difference in time compared to the outside world. Such a time-type magical treasure was indeed extraordinary. However, the internal space of Su Fang's Holy Sun Hall of Spring and Autumn had 100 times difference in the flow of time, and with his mastery of the great Tao of Time, he could easily create a formation that sped up the flow of time by 30 times. Regarding this Yanhua prefecture, Su Fang naturally would not have any interest. What's more, it was a consumable magic treasure. Every time it was activated, it would lose a lot of power, and after 2 or 3 times, it would be completely scrap. Let's see what's hidden in this magic treasure. Su Fang was full of anticipation, and he used the heaven prying eye, and at the same time released the aura of the purple chi Dharma spirit. Under the divine power of the purple chi Dharma spirit, the scenery in the eyes of the heaven prying eye suddenly changed drastically. The surrounding ocean quickly disappeared, and turned into a formation made of intertwined heavenly marks. And in the formation, there was a restriction that was used to conceal detection. Vaguely, there was another formation space behind the restriction. If it were not for Su Fang's ability to see through the mysteries of heaven and the purple chi Dharma spirit, it would be difficult to see that there was another space inside the magic treasure. To be able to create such a layer of restriction inside the magic treasure, and make it difficult for people to detect, the former owner of this sea-viewing painting was very extraordinary. I guess he should be a supreme sovereign. Su Fang was pleasantly surprised. In order to break this layer of restriction, Su Fang spent a lot of energy. However, he had the experience of breaking the barrier inside the prison suppressing codex, and he also comprehended the preface of Heaven and Earth. After all, the barrier of the prison suppression codex was condensed from the supreme order of the heavenly Tao. All barriers and restrictions in the heavens and the earth actually belonged to the category of the heavenly Tao. Therefore, Su Fang's ability to break barriers was something that even the top formation masters in the universe could not compare to. Time passed. A blinding white xian guang suddenly erupted from the powerful and illusory restriction. Then, the xian guang disintegrated along with the heavenly marks that formed the scroll space. Finally, the entire interior space shattered with a loud bang. The surrounding seawater and other scenes also shattered layer by layer, turning into nothingness. The vast and deep formation space appeared in the sight of Su Fang's young spirit. However, it was only a fleeting glimpse. Before he could take a closer look, an astonishing power of the formation that contained the power of time swept over, shattering Su Fang's young spirit. Su Fang felt a sharp pain in his head and his face turned pale. Losing a yang spirit had also slightly injured his primordial spirit. What a terrifying power of time! What kind of time-type Dharma treasure is this? Su Fang was shocked and pleasantly surprised. He looked intently. The scroll painting burned and quickly turned into ashes. An astonishing divine radiance erupted, piercing Su Fang's eyes into a vast expanse of white. He did not know what was hidden in the interior space of the scroll painting. It was enveloped by the divine radiance, and was about to escape into the void in a flash. It is indeed a creation divine artifact, and it is a creation divine artifact with an origin spirit. Su Fang was surprised and delighted. Of course, he would not let the creation divine artifact in his hands escape from under his nose. His divine consciousness moved. The surrounding formation created by the Heaven Supervisor token immediately appeared with a white and cold light screen, enveloping the ball of divine radiance. The divine radiance flickered rapidly and revealed its original form. It was a chariot-like Dharma treasure. The chariot had 4 wheels, on which there were patterns of the sun, moon, and stars. There was a hood on top of the chariot, which was formed by a galaxy, as if a starry sky covered the chariot frame. The chariot's shape was simple and unadorned, but it emitted an innate creation divine aura and an astonishing power of time. Under the power of the surrounding heavenly Tao order, the strange chariot continued to struggle. The 4 wheels rolled, and the power of time constantly erupted from the wheels. However, the Heaven Supervisor token was a heaven law divine artifact. How could an ownerless Dharma treasure break free from the heavenly Tao order it released? In the end, the chariot could only obediently float there, motionless. Only then did Su Fang see that a string of mysterious symbols was engraved on the vertical wood supporting the hood of the chariot. They were very similar to the tadpole characters Su Fang had seen in the divine prison of heaven law. The Infinity Chariot. The Infinity Chariot? I wonder what kind of Dharma treasure it is. No matter what, you are Su Fang's creation divine artifact. How can I let you escape from my hands? Su Fang was overjoyed. Then, he rolled out a mysterious purple chi, which quickly enveloped the chariot. Su Fang once again peeled off a ray of yang spirit, which seeped into the interior space of the chariot along with the purple chi Dharma spirit. After entering the vast and empty interior space, the divine power of time swept over, turning into a surging wave. Above the wave, an old man with snow-white hair and a snow-white beard and a face full of wrinkles revealed the vicissitudes of time. He controlled the divine power of time and blocked Su Fang's yang spirit and the purple chi Dharma spirit. Su Fang's yang spirit asked, "You are the primordial spirit of the Infinity Chariot?" The old man revealed a look of disdain. "I am a supreme Dharma treasure born with heaven and earth. I was bestowed by the heavenly venerable of creation to his disciple, the Supreme Emperor of Eternity River. Other than the Supreme Emperor of Eternity River, ordinary Supreme Emperors can't control me, let alone a low-level existence like you." Supreme Emperor of Eternity River? Supreme Emperor of Eternity River is the heavenly venerable's disciple? Where did he go? I don't know. I only know that Supreme Emperor of Eternity River sealed me in that scroll painting. I have been in a deep sleep and have just awakened. Strange, why did Supreme Emperor of Eternity River seal you and hide you in the interior space of an ordinary scroll painting? As for the reason, A low-level existence like you doesn't need to know, and you don't have the right to know. Su Fang's young spirit said domineeringly, I really don't need to know. I just need to know that you are now my Dharma treasure. The old man snorted. You? Get out of my interior space. The waves under the old man's body rolled and swept through the entire space of the Dharma treasure in an instant. Su Fang felt as if he had fallen into a different world. There was no past, present, or future. A strange and powerful power wiped out the divine power of the purple Qi Dharma spirit and Su Fang's yang spirit in an instant. Su Fang was furious. A Dharma treasure had killed 2 of his yang spirits in succession. The old man's voice was full of disdain. A low-level existence like an ant actually wants to be my master? Although I am only a primordial spirit, I was born from the essence of time of heaven and earth, the universe, and from ancient times to the present. I can control the power of time of the past, present, and future. Who do you think you are? Do you think you are worthy of being my master? What an arrogant Dharma treasure, what a powerful Dharma treasure! Su Fang sneered, his eyes exuding coldness. The purple Qi Dharma spirit's primordial spirit, Az, transmitted her thoughts to Su Fang. Master, this Dharma treasure is really too powerful. Az can only help Master subdue it, but can't directly suppress it. Su Fang responded, It's okay. How can a mere primordial spirit scare me, Su Fang? What kind of powerful Dharma treasure was it that could control the power of time of the past, present, and future? The more powerful it was, the more Su Fang naturally liked it. No matter how arrogant it was just a primordial spirit. Su Fang had plenty of means to suppress it. The simplest way was to use the divine life shrinking technique to directly shackle the primordial spirit, and then forcibly integrate it into the infinity wheel. However, Su Fang didn't intend to use the divine life shrinking technique to fuse with the divine life shrinking technique. That would consume the power of life. Therefore, Su Fang used the most barbaric and domineering method. Su Fang flipped his right hand, and the Origin's sacred mirror appeared in his palm. The mirror faced the shackled infinity wheel, and a red light instantly shot out from the mirror, enveloping it. Su Fang shouted domineeringly, Infinity wheel, if you don't obediently submit, I will directly refine you. The primordial spirit's voice came from the infinity wheel. What kind of Dharma treasure is that? It's not a divine creation Dharma treasure, but it surpasses me. Ah, the aura of a heavenly venerable of creation. You are the successor of a heavenly venerable? Su Fang was stunned, and then he said coldly, The successor of a heavenly venerable? Yes, I am indeed the successor of a supreme heavenly venerable. Now, am I qualified to be your master? The infinity wheel trembled as it replied, Submit? Not only are you the successor of a heavenly venerable, but you also have a supreme Dharma treasure that surpasses me. This subordinate submit. This subordinate is willing to follow Master for the rest of his life. Su Fang didn't hesitate to shoot out a few drops of blood essence, which quickly fused into the infinity wheel. At the same time, he used the divine life shrinking technique to seal the Tao of fate into the primordial spirit's mind. In this way, the infinity wheel, a divine creation Dharma treasure, became Su Fang's Dharma treasure. The moment the blood essence fused into the infinity wheel, Su Fang felt that his flesh and blood were connected. Once again, he entered the internal space of the infinity wheel. The incomparably vast internal space was filled with formations and heavenly marks condensed from the power of time. Su Fang roamed in the vast space while asking, Infinity Wheel, you are a time-type Dharma treasure. What are your main abilities? The primordial spirit answered respectfully, I was born at the beginning of heaven and earth. I was born in the primal chaos without time and space. I was born with the ability to control time. In other words, I am the embodiment of the past, present, and future. Then, don't you have the ability to control the past, present, and future? Su Fang's heart surged with shock, and then he was overjoyed. It can be said that in heaven and earth, there is no Dharma treasure that can surpass my ability to control time. The primordial spirit's tone was full of pride. Then he said, I have 3 main abilities. The first is the past, the second is the present, and the third is the future. Chapter 24:10. Su Fang couldn't wait to ask, Universe Chariot, explain it more clearly. Yes, Master. The Universe Chariot slowly explained to Su Fang. The so-called universe, from ancient times until now, was known as the universe, and the 4 directions were known as the universe. The universe was also known as the passage of time. The Universe Chariot was born when the primal chaos was first born. It was a creation treasure that contained the power of time from the past, present, and future. When activating the Universe Chariot, it could release the power of time reversal, stillness, and acceleration. If it was activated to the extreme, it could reverse time and make the enemy return to their infancy, or even when they were just in their mother's womb. The power of time stillness was even more astonishing. It could make the enemy and even the world fall into a state of eternal stillness. The power of time acceleration was even more terrifying. It could make the power of time from tens of millions of years or even longer directly bless the enemy, instantly turning the enemy into ashes and destroying the world. Compared to the Universe Chariot, Su Fang's destiny-mediating technique was even more heaven-defying. It could reverse heaven and earth and control fate. However, in terms of power, the destiny-mediating technique was far inferior to the Universe Chariot. Moreover, Su Fang suffered an astonishing backlash when using the destiny-mediating technique. When encountering an enemy whose strength surpassed his, he had to be cautious. Only when his strength continued to increase would he dare to use the technique without restraint. The Universe Chariot proudly said, Master, I still have some very practical basic abilities that will be of great help to Master, and they don't consume much energy. First of all, speed. Because I can control the power of time, space and distance are meaningless to me. Su Fang was pleasantly surprised. I just happen to be lacking this kind of magic treasure. With you, even if I can't win, I can still escape. The Universe Chariot continued, In addition, with my divine might, I can create a world that transcends the passage of time. Master, time will flow in my world, but the time outside will be still. Moreover, it won't have any negative effects on Master, and it won't even change Master's lifespan. It will be as if time has never happened to Master. Such a heaven-defying ability. Su Fang sucked in a breath of cold air. This was much more powerful than the time formation created by Su Fang and the Hall of Spring and Autumn in the Saint Temple. After all, due to the time difference between the formation and the real world, the physical body and primordial spirit would suffer backlash after leaving the formation. However, there is a limit to this ability of mine. With Master's current strength, he can only maintain the world I create for nearly 1,000 years at most. Furthermore, he cannot activate it continuously. There must be at least 1,000 years between each activation. This Universe Chariot, Su Fang, and the Chariot, the Universe Chariot, the Universe. Master, the Infinity Chariot still has many other astonishing abilities. You still need to fuse with it and increase your cultivation base so that I can unleash even more power. What a great treasure! It's truly a great treasure. It's a supreme treasure that surpasses countless magic treasures. In fact, it's even superior to most destinable divine artifacts. As Fang. Su Fang was overjoyed. He didn't expect that he would pick up such a precious treasure while strolling around the city of trades. If this wasn't luck, then what was? He immediately began to fuse with the Universe Chariot. With the cooperation of the Primordial Spirit and the Purple Aura Dharma Spirit, Su Fang estimated that it wouldn't be long before he could activate the Time Chariot. At that time, his strength would increase greatly. Good things came one after another. Just a few days after Su Fang recognized the Universe Chariot as its master, Grand Elder Hua came to the Demon Mountain with Xiao Wanting's decree. When Grand Elder Hua saw Su Fang, he explained the purpose of his visit, and the two of them arrived in the sky above the Demon Mountain. All Big Goblin, come out and meet this seat. Grand Elder Hua's majestic voice reverberated through the Demon Mountain, causing the Big Goblin's heart to tremble. Whoosh, whoosh. Big Goblin flew out of the caves on the Demon Mountain. The strongest of them all, Wangtian Zihua Tuan Tsang Xian Shao. These Big Goblins were unruly and cruel. Although Grand Elder Hua's status was extraordinary, the Big Goblin only looked at him coldly, not caring about his status as one of the 10 giants of the Sky Beacon God realm. However, when it came to Su Fang, most Big Goblin looked at him with reverence. Grand Elder Hua said indifferently, Emperor Xiao decrees that from today onwards, Grand Elder Yuan Li will be the master of the Demon Mountain. He will rule over all Big Goblin on the Demon Mountain. What? Big Goblin Yuan Li will be the master of the Demon Mountain? We Big Goblins have always been free. We came to the Sky Beacon God realm for the reward. What qualifications do you humans have to hand us over to Yuan Li? No matter how strong Yuan Li is, he is not a great saint of the demon race. What qualifications does he have to command us? Among these Big Goblin, except for those who agreed to Wangtian, subduing, Wangtian, Huangbing, Wangtian, execution mound? Oh no, no, no. As for the remaining 2/3 of the Big Goblin that refused to submit to Su Fang, even though they feared Su Fang, that didn't mean that they were willing to hand their lives over to him. Naturally, they weren't willing to accept the Sky Beacon God realm's decision. Who dares to disobey the decree of Emperor Xiao? Great Elder Hua let out a thunderous roar, then reached out and grabbed a golden decree in the air, throwing it into the air. In an instant, the heavenly Tao's divine might emanated from the decree, enveloping the entire Demon Mountain and immobilizing all of the Big Goblin. Heavens? Yizi was surprised. Skeletal target. What's the sign of the red beard? How dare you? Rumble. The other 40,000 Big Goblin also expressed their willingness to submit to Su Fang. Naturally, these Big Goblin were all looking up at the sky. Where is the Qi Tizhong Fei Cut? Did the other Big Goblin include Wangtian? Flattery, huh? Daring to squeeze in? From Zhong Xuexian? Tun Air, however, half of the Big Goblin, including the divine beast Qilin, were still rebellious and refused to submit to Su Fang. The divine beast Qilin sneered. Yuan Li, I respect your strength, but don't you dare use the power of humans to force me to submit to you. So what if you're Emperor Xiao? I have the great sage of the demon clan as my backer. If you dare to force me to submit, don't blame the demon clan for turning against you humans. The other Big Goblin also shouted loudly. Great Elder Hua raised his white eyebrows. Great Elder Yuan Li, you see. Don't worry, Great Elder Hua. Just leave the rest of the Big Goblin to me. If I still need to rely on the decree of the Emperor to subdue these Big Goblin, wouldn't that be a joke? Su Fang grinned, revealing his ferocious fangs. Then, he looked down at the divine beast Qilin and said coldly, You once said that as long as I defeat you, you are willing to become my slave? The divine beast Qilin sneered. That's right, Yuan Li. I am indeed very tempted by the great sage's blood essence that you gave me. However, if you want me to submit to you, we will have to see if you have the ability to do so. Very well. Su Fang nodded and said to Great Elder Hua, Great Elder Hua, go back and report to your superiors. Let me handle the internal affairs of the demon clan. Great Elder Yuan Li is indeed mighty. Great Elder Hua was relieved. Then, he sent a message to Su Fang with his primordial spirit. Great Elder Yuan Li, Emperor Xiao has decided to go to the 9 Serenities in 10 years to search for the nether sand. Please be prepared, Great Elder Yuan Li. Su Fong frowned. So soon? I understand. Then let me congratulate Great Elder Yuan Li in advance for becoming the ruler of the demon clan in the Sky Beacon Divine World. Great Elder Hua cupped his fists at Su Fong and put away Emperor Zhao's decree. Then, with a flash of divine light, he disappeared into the void. Strange Qilin, this is not the place to fight. Come with me to the outside of the Sky Beacon Divine World. All the other big goblin will watch the battle and see how I deal with this arrogant strange Qilin. Looking at the sky? Looking at the sky? Looking at the sky? Looking at the sky? Su Fong shouted domineeringly. He used his movement technique and took a step out of the outer boundary of the Sky Beacon Divine World. He arrived in the distant void. A layer of mist gushed out of the divine beast Qilin's body and shrouded its body in an instant. The mist disappeared into the void, and when it reappeared, it was already 1,000,000 miles away from Su Fong. The other big goblin were looking at the sky? Looking at the sky? Pooh? Looking at the sky? Looking at the sky? Looking at the sky? Looking at the sky? The divine beast Qilin shouted, Yuan Li, if you lose to me, you will give up your wishful thinking and give me that drop of the great saint's blood essence. Kneel down and submit to me, and I will give you the great saint's blood essence. The demon monkey clan is full of arrogance. The divine beast Qilin roared and a mist-like demon aura spread out from its body. It swept in all directions and shrouded Su Fong. Splash! 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 A world of water quickly formed and engulfed Su Fong. The divine beast Qilin had the ability to control the water force of nature. This strange Qilin had reached the peak of the Master God realm. It could condense a world of water directly with its demon aura without controlling the power of nature. Boom! Boom! The black and heavy waves of water surged as countless vortexes whistled into existence, forming a terrifying force of impact. It formed a pressure that swept towards Su Fong from all directions, vast and endless. As the surrounding waves rolled, they condensed into lifelike sea beasts. They were densely packed, and rushed towards Su Fong with a whistling sound. The divine beast Qilin's smug laughter came from all around. Yuan Li, I heard that you are very powerful. I wonder how much power you can unleash in my world? Why do I have to go through so much trouble to suppress you? It was almost impossible to suppress the divine beast Qilin without exposing his identity and using his trump card. Therefore, Su Fong took out the evil god flag. The evil god flag rolled up above his head, and a terrifying evil god aura immediately erupted. The evil god flag swept out and blocked the divine beast Qilin's evil god aura. The sea beasts formed by the demon aura also shattered under the impact of the evil god aura. This was not the true power of the evil god flag.